9. I did it so you don't have to. This was truly the toughest tennis watching conditions I've ever experienced. Did you know you can see the length of Manhattan from the highest point on Ash? Well, now you do. As tennis watching venues go, Ash is not my favorite. I prefer smaller, more intimate courts and medium sized stadiums. I will miss Louis Armstrong. But starting today, all singles matches are now on Ash only. First up on Ash for the night session was Karolina Mukova versus Soraya Cristea. Although some games were long, Cristea was no match for Mukova, who took the first set, 6-love. And although her right forehand was taped, it didn't seem to affect her hitting. A consistent Mukova is now a US Open semifinalist. Then it was time for the main event, Ben Shelton versus Francis Tiafoe. It felt like a WWE match. Every time Ben would serve, everyone would look at the speed clock. Tiafoe looked good in moments, but I guess wasn't ready to die on court like he proclaimed earlier on this tournament.
Ready? Play.
My mic was muted, ladies and gentlemen. The mic was muted. So you, thank you, Layla. Yes, indeed. Indeed, it does now. Yeah. I'm getting better. I've only been doing this a year. I'm getting better, but still, from time to time, there will be technical glitches. I mean, technical glitches may be my fault on that occasion, rather than a glitch. We are here, of course, to watch Carlos Alcaraz's quarterfinal against Alexander Zverev, the last quarterfinal of the day. In fact, the last quarterfinal of the tournament, to find the remaining spot on the men's side. Of course, we had Daniel Medvedev winning earlier in straight sets against Andrei Rublev, who he tends to beat, let's say, not always, but tends to beat. So the winner of this will be playing Daniel Medvedev in a couple of days from now. Good to see a couple of familiar faces in the live chat in Layla and Terry. Wow. Thank you very much, Layla. Layla here, obviously enjoying our coverage. We will be bringing you as much as we can. We're going to be bringing you thick and fast. The action never seems to stop, especially during a Grand Slam. And of course, we're in the very deep end right now. Terry, how are you doing this evening? And by the way, I've got a poll going on YouTube, and I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. And it's regarding Damien, our good friend, Damien, who will be joining us, I believe, at some stage. But I know he said he was going to take a nap at about midnight. Of course, it's a very tricky thing to negotiate sleeping during these Grand Slams in far-fetched places in the US. And far-fetched, is that right? You know what I mean anyway. You know, far out places. When you're based in Europe, the time zones and all that. You get my point. I've got a poll, of course, going on. I'm going to present that to you right now. So please do get voting in the poll. It's a poll about a poll. When do we anticipate Damien's arrival? Do we think he'll arrive during the first set, second set, third set, or not at all? Last night, from memory, he appeared at the beginning of the second set. So he missed the first set domination, I would say, from Ben Shelton before Tiafoe leveled things up at 1-1, but he was certainly there for the tiebreak at the end of the second set, which was the defining moment of the match and probably the defining moment of the day in what was a slightly underwhelming day at the US Open yesterday. Let me know what you think about today's action so far. Maybe it's a bit more of the same. We've seen some more straight set wins for the aforementioned Daniil Medvedev against Andrei Rublev. A very comfortable win as well for Sabalenka over Zheng. And Madison Keys in what was a surprisingly comfortable win for her too. So I will be interested to know your thoughts on those matches as well. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get to see a lot of the tennis today. I saw the latter stages of the Medvedev-Rublev match. Of course, Rublev was up a break in each of the 3 sets, bizarrely enough, in a way, because generally, Rublev has just struggled against Medvedev, but actually there were chances there for him today to do something. Maybe that makes it worse. Maybe that makes him feel better about the next meeting. I mean, he can beat Medvedev, but the Medvedev he beat, when was it? At the ATP finals last year, wasn't the best version of Medvedev. The Medvedev in 2021 was the best version. And okay, beating him in Cincinnati is one thing. Beating him in New York is something else. Of course, he actually that year, of course, went on to win the title, beating Novak Djokovic in the final. So Alcaraz is going to serve first. The thing I'm most interested in here probably is just to keep an eye on the physical scenario between both players, because we have question marks. First of all, Sasha Zverev, just before he came on court, did highlight just how physical the battle was against Sinner the other night. And I think a lot of people, of course, would have seen how Sinner was struggling with cramp, but I do think Alexander Zverev was struggling towards the end as well. So we'll see if there's any wear and tear from that match carried over. Regarding Carlos Alcaraz, slightly different. Is that strapping on the left thigh that people have been telling me has been apparent for a few weeks, maybe even longer, including during successes, for example, in Wimbledon and in Cincinnati, where he was sensational as well, only just missing out to Novak in the final. However, it did seem to be a little bit heavier a couple of days ago. I don't know. Make of that what you will. Let me know in the live chat. Also, let me know in the live chat what you're predicting, who you're tipping to win this particular encounter, etc., etc. Jane, there's so many chances regarding Rublev. By the way, I had a double fault at the beginning of this match, so it's love 15. Alcaraz big on the forehand, and the drop volley was just good enough to ultimately win the point. Zverev did chase it down. By the way, I'm feeling a bit nervous tonight, ladies and gentlemen, after that performance that we had from Matthew there on the commentary for the previous match. which was just word for word, second for second, point for point, perfect. I'm sure I can barely do a couple of minutes without making an error. So Terry, anyway, is tipping an Alcaraz win. I would agree, as long as he's physically fine. What do we think about Shelton against Novak, by the way? What are we thinking there? Easy win for Novak? Shelton to be overawed by the occasion? Alcaraz nets on a backhand, by the way, so it's 15-30. Hey, Jake, how are you? Please hit the like button, by the way, people. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Am I coming through loud and clear, by the way? I think I spoke earlier on this evening in a commentary and didn't turn my microphone on. I think I was still being heard, but through the laptop rather than the mic. Good first serve there from Carlos down the tee. Good spot serving, I would suggest. And Zverev can't do much on the return, and it is 30 all. Thanks, Jane, and thank you as well, Jake, as well. Share your thoughts on this match and how you see it panning out. I know that Terry, for example, is predicting an Alcaraz win. Do you think it'll be a comfortable win for the Spaniard? Maybe one or two of you out there think Zverev will actually emerge the winner today. Jake, I'm on the beer, by the way, but not the Guinness. That was the wrong moment to take a sip because my commentary died and I just went And what that means, it means that Carlos Alcaraz has just got a jammy neck cord. By the way, jammy is a very British English expression, meaning just very lucky, and ends up winning the point as a result. I've got a poll going, Ghosty. I don't know if you've seen the poll. I don't mean Damien. I've done that joke about 73 times this week. Everyone is predicting that he'll arrive at some point. So that's nice. Everybody has faith that the tennis brain in a jar will emerge at some point from his Polish slumber. Okay, anyway, we're into a rally here. We'll come back to Damien in a second. Run around forehand for Carlos. Oh, good forehand there. Good defense, though, from Carlos. Backhand, Carlos. Now Carlos should win the point from here, and he does. Wow. Carlos there just showing just how dynamic he can be. That was an insane point. The athleticism, the movement, the speed around the court. Look at this. Left backhand coming to the net, puts it away. Sliding as well. Fist pump. He means business. It was indeed a nice rally. Jake, indeed he does. Indeed he does. Make his sleeping routine normal. So yeah, make sure you get voting in our poll. Just 4 votes so far, but I'm sure a few more will trickle in. And make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. What do we think about that previous match, by the way, with Madison Keys? Was Vondrousova affected by her arm stroke, shoulder stroke, elbow injury? Did that undermine her performance? Or was just Madison Keys too good on the day? Or I should say night. Forehand from Carlos. Good forehand there from... oh, my goodness me. What a backhand from Alcaraz. Now on the forehand of Zverev. Backhand Alcaraz. Oh, Carlitos. Hitting that backhand on the rise. And we have love 15. I don't know, Ghosty, this character. Where is it here? I know Bill Murray, the actor, but I'm not familiar with Rushmore, the movie. 15 all. You'll have to elaborate, Ghosty. Okay, Sasha Zverev to serve. Down the tee, and it's too good. 30-15. Some of you speculating that the injury was a factor. Or at least Ghosty suggesting it. Terry too. Not Terry 2. There's only one Terry, of course. I'm not saying Terry 2 as in Terry number 2. Terry 1, the one and only Terry. I think in terms of Zverev's temperament, I almost think post-injury, maybe he's a bit more relaxed. I'm not saying the level has always been there. I do think that Sasha's best tennis in his career was in those weeks and months building up to that injury. Unfortunately for him, because he doesn't get injured against Rafa. Who knows? Maybe he goes on to win the match and even the title. But yeah, if his tennis is not quite at that level, I do think mentally he's okay. So the double fault yips as well, Jake, needs to be put into a what's the word? Because sometimes he can also not double fault, but be nervous, be not great. Second serves. I mean, against Shapovalov in 2022 in Australia, I think it was 4th round. The second serves in that occasion were just so tame. And also the serving against Rafa in that semi-final. He was tight. And as a result, that's why we had so many breaks of serve. I mean, it was slow, stodgy conditions, and maybe those conditions even contributed to the injury that day. Zverev has, by the way, held. Oh, okay, we've got a nice Ghosty here, film review, which is, of course, what we need. We all need a bit of Ghosty's film reviews. So it's about Rush. What was the name? Rushmere or Rushmore? Rushmere, I guess. Yeah, Rushmore. Okay. So the film Rushmore from Ghosty in a dozen or so words. A cynical and withered man who is nonetheless charming, a mentor, and who wins the heart of the girl at the end. Ghosty, spoiler alert. Yeah, I'm not bad with you, but you need to try and hold back there on the spoiler. Okay. On the Alcaraz serve, we do have love 15. Okay, Carlitos to serve, love 15. Goes down to the tee to the forehand of Zverev. Good forehand there from Carlos, forcing the error, and it's 15 all. What do we make of the US Open this year as a spectacle in terms of the tennis, in terms of watching it, in terms of the matches that have unfolded? I'm thinking it falls way short of the 2021 and 2022 versions. It's just one of those things. Tennis is tennis. You might get a fifth set, deciding set, tiebreak, and drama. I mean, even 2020 had some drama, didn't it? With the line judge and the deciding set tiebreak between Team and Zverev, and also the semi-finals from the women that year were just sensational. Probably the best day of tennis in terms of quality. So we could probably look at the last 3 versions of the US Open and just going, wow, wow, wow. But this year, yeah. I mean, some people were suggesting it after the first week. Oh, the forehand goes long there from Carlos. So we're at 30 all. Some people were suggesting it after the first week, and I got it, but I was sort of saying, hold on, hold fire. Because Really, tournaments are often remembered by the latter stages, but the latter stages thus far have probably deteriorated even. I mean, just one-sided affairs, really. Some of them predictable in the Fritz Djokovic case. Some of them may be surprising in the two most recent victories for Madison Keys and maybe even the Ostapenko Goff match was less competitive than we imagined. But that's what you get. That's what you pay for. Don't know, Ghosty. I mean, if it was on a clay court with the roof closed, yeah, that can have an effect. And maybe even at Wimbledon too. Not sure. Maybe. I see what you mean in terms of the heat as well and stodgy performances and stuff like that. But I think just some big gaps between performances and players, possibly. We didn't get Rublev, Rusevori, I agree. The draw as well. You put Medvedev in the same half as Djokovic, and we've got intrigue there. You know, you also get the seedings and the rankings as they are. They're probably all about right, which is fine, of course. But, you know, if you go into a French Open with Rafa Nadal seeded 5, as we did in 2022, you're going to get an interesting draw, if you like. Or you just get a Kyrgios who's not seeded. You know what I mean? So anyway, still plenty of tennis to come, and we might start if we get some memorable semi-finals and some great finals. That'll change everything. Zverev goes wide there, was close, but no cigar. And so we have a game point for Carlos. It's been a tough hold, actually, for him. Alcaraz serving for a 2-1 potentially lead. Forehand return is into the net. That's a disappointing return, even if it was off a first serve. And I think it's time we had a quick review of yesterday's play from Anastasia.
Fine. I did it so you don't have to. This was truly the toughest tennis watching conditions I've ever experienced. Did you know you can see the length of Manhattan from the highest point on Ash? Well, now you do. As tennis watching venues go, Ash is not my favorite. I prefer smaller, more intimate courts and medium sized stadiums. I will miss Louis Armstrong. But starting today, all singles matches are now on Ash only. First up on Ash for the night session was Karolina Mukova versus Soraya Cristea. Although some games were long, Cristea was no match for Mukova, who took the first set, 6-love. And although her right forehand was taped, it didn't seem to affect her hitting. A consistent Mukova is now a US Open semifinalist. Then it was time for the main event, Ben Shelton versus Francis Tiafoe. It felt like a WWE match. Every time Ben would serve, everyone would look at the speed clock. Tiafoe looked good in moments, but I guess wasn't ready to die on court like he proclaimed earlier on this tournament. Ben Shelton put on a show. If you had told me at the start of this tournament that Ben Shelton would be the one American who made it through, I would not have believed you. But here's looking at you, kid, and good luck with Novak.
An excellent video clip once again from Anastasia, and here is looking at, well, me right now, but the tennis, and well, be interesting to see if he can hold a torch or a candle or whatever it happens to be, whatever the word is, for the match with Novak. I think it could be interesting. Could be. Be interesting to know if Damien thinks the same. We'll find out perhaps if we get to speak to Damien or not. And of course, we do have a poll for you to vote in. Let's see if I can present the aforementioned poll to you right now. I should call it a questionnaire or a survey. So I stopped myself from doing the poll. Double entendre, I think they call it. Yeah, maybe they did. Yeah, I mean, those very sweaty on shirts are becoming an image of the tournament. But they were the lotto ones as well. It's just that we don't have any lotto players left. Oh, nice catch, ball kid. Here's looking at you, kid, as Anastasia said. Forehand return into the net from Carlos, and we're 15 all. I text Anastasia earlier just to tell her how good these clips have been, but in particular the most recent one. I mean, they're just getting better and better. I'm loving the commentary. A couple of days ago, she was talking about Rublev and his temperament. And also, yeah, I did it so you don't have to. And yeah, the comments on Tiafo and Shelton, succinct, amusing, and to the point, and on the point as well. Talking of points, we are at 30-15 here for Zverev on his serve, and it's now 40-15, so could well be a 2-all scenario. For those of you just tuning in, make sure you hit the like button, and if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm hoping, and I'm still optimistic, call me an optimist, but I'm optimistic we can hit 3,000 before the end of the US Open. We just need 85 more. That's a wayward forehand from Carlos Alcaraz, and we're at 2-all. Zverev is looking fine right now in terms of comfort, in terms of the occasion, etc. I know, and understandably so, regarding his serving and other sort of anxious moments that he has displayed in the past. But we haven't really seen him like in a, serving out a big match probably, or in a big semi-final of a slam, for example, since that injury. So maybe the test is still to come. Maybe it'll come tonight, even if he's fortunate enough to be in a on the pressure moment. I say fortunate enough because, if you're under pressure, often it's because you're in front and you're in the lead. What was the Wozniacki comment about her being the greatest of all time? Hi, Ignacio, by the way. Yes, Jake, it has been short on lasting stories. I agree. Yeah, okay, I just see that now. Yep. What did you miss, by the way? I'm sorry. Sometimes different comments are flying around, and I missed as well. So, what was it you missed? Did you miss the Anastasia video? Is that what you're referring to? Forehand return from Zverev is long, and he's a bit frustrated with that one. You can see 30 love. Tell your friends and family and all sorts of other people that you know about us, and share and like and subscribe. Get dogs, even bots. We're fine with bots following us and subscribing and all sorts. Hey, who knows? All you guys in the chat, maybe you're all bots. Ghosty, are you a bot? Are you real? Do you really exist? or somehow has a chat GTP, is that what it is? Been created to come out with witty comments, albeit with occasional sausage fingers. Ooh, Zverev forehand into the net there. He was very much in that rally. 40 love for Carlitos. Oh, of course, Max. I know that song. Save the best for last. Yeah, of course. It was I didn't sing it very well. I'm not going to sing it, don't worry. I won't sing it again because that was terrible. Ghosty's definitely a bot. I'm definitely a bot. I'm a hot bot. Look at that's funny how the definitely a bot was repeated. Something's going on there. There's the definitely a bot thing, but that's too much of a coincidence. Is that Vanessa Williams? Sometimes the sun goes round the moon. Is that one? Save. I better not sing too much. A, because we'll hemorrhage viewers, and B, we might get a copyright strike. Look at that! Look at that strapping you see on the leg of Alcaraz. It seems to get lower and lower down with every match that passes. Anyway, 40-15. So 2 game points here for Carlitos. Yeah, of course I know it. Second serve here for Sasha to look at. Forehand return from Zverev. Forehand again. Carlitos comes into the net. That's a lovely, lovely, velvety volley from the Spaniard. And the world number one, albeit outgoing world number one, because even if he retains his title, Djokovic is going to overtake him. By virtue of the fact that Djokovic, of course, didn't compete last year at this tournament, so it was always going to be a point gaining scenario for him. In fact, I think as long as he won his first round match, he was always going to regain world number one. Carlos, of course, has a lot of points to defend, has to win the title just to maintain the status quo regarding his points. But he has got points to gain in the tournaments to come because he didn't do great in the build-up tournaments to Paris-Bercy, and then, of course, he retired through injury there, I believe, in the semi-final against Holger Rune. So, yeah, points to gain, points to be lost, etc., etc. Max suggesting that maybe the first set will go to a tiebreak. Let's see about that. 3-2 currently, Carlos leads. Let me know your thoughts on this match and also get voting our poll. I see some movement in the poll as to where we believe that Damien will potentially have. Everyone is confident he'll arrive at some point. I have to say, last night, given how arduous some of the other nights have been for us, particularly the Sinner Zverev one, which was 2 nights ago, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I'm not sure he'll arrive. And last night, I was ready for it. I was prepared. I thought, Damien, sleep. I was almost thinking to myself when he arrived last night, I was thinking, Damien, just go back to bed, man. You gotta rest that tennis brain for bigger assignments to come. But he was there. Tonight, conversely, I thought, yeah, he's pumped for this one. He'll be here. But even Damien, even the machine, the tennis machine, needs to rest from time to time. Talking of being a machine or having plenty of energy, how energetic do we imagine Zverev to be tonight? Do we think that 5-setter against Sinner will take its toll? He's got a... Oh, Carlos, stop it. Stop it. That backhand down the line. Wow. Carlos and Yannick, by the way, a year ago when they were sliding. I mean, there's Carlos doing it, but those two last year, that's that quarterfinal that they played out, Alcaraz and Sinner, which was a year ago to the day, or pretty much. Good first serve there from Zverev, 15-all. Was just, of course, it was amazing and iconic for all the obvious reasons, but I just remember just constantly screeching of shoes as they were just sliding on a hard court. I find sliding difficult on a clay court, and it's kind of should be quite natural. On a hard court, it just seems, I don't know, impossible. Zverev puts a forehand into the net, and so we're at 15-30. Sasha to serve here. Goes long. So it's a second serve. People with their phones out. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. A timely appearance, and I don't mean a possible Carlos Alcaraz break. I think it's time to end the poll that I have running on YouTube right now. I don't know if you, can you see this poll I've got, Damien?
Yes, I can see the poll now. So I
And in
actually
fact,
ended up doing the first set.
Everyone thought you'd be here, but not so many during the first set. I've got to end it now because otherwise people can cheat. But there we go. That is done. A bit like Vondrousova's chances of winning the US Open. Done. Zverev, however, is very much in this. I don't know if you've caught any of this match so far, Damien.
No.
Not a lot to report, to be honest with you. I don't think we've even had a break point, although you can possibly check yourself, but I don't recall a break point. We've had all sorts of different chats going on anyway, so but both fairly comfortable. I think Alcaraz was a bit tentative. I think the first point of the match was a double fault from him, but we've still seen one or two sensational points from Carlitos. Does Zverev, to you, appear a bit more relaxed post-injury? I guess he's not been in a Grand Slam final or semi-final, or maybe that's why I'm thinking this way. But I don't know. He doesn't seem so tense. But maybe that's just that he hasn't been pushed.
Yeah, I missed Vondrousova keys completely, but it seems like there was nothing to regret, really.
No, no. I tell you what I don't know, to be honest. And it could be anything between it made no difference or it could have made all the difference, was the impact of her fitness, Vondrousova. Watching the match, there was, oh dear, that's a horrible smash from Alcaraz. Watching the match, it was difficult for me to tell. It wasn't like, oh, I can see her serves are a bit lame, you know, or the there's certain issues with certain shots, and she wasn't, as the commentator we had, Matthew doing his first slot for us, as he said, there was no moments of grimacing from her or treatment. So it was just difficult to tell how much that impacted. Maybe we'll never know as well, because you know how some players are, they don't really want to talk about it when they go to their press conference afterwards. Others maybe will get pushed on it and they will say something. But I'm pleased for Keys, because it's been a decade-long pursuit of winning a Grand Slam, and of course in 24 hours it may continue, but because Sabalenka, I mean, you saw Sabalenka Zheng today. What did you make of that?
I mean, exactly what we are talking about happened, I think, which was the worst possible scenario that I was imagining. But unfortunately, that worst possible scenario was actually quite likely to happen. And yeah, that's what got Zheng. Zheng is pretty horrible against like power hitters, who are just very heavy and don't allow her to use her strengths. And yeah, Sabalenka is not a good matchup, and she was just hitting out of her mind, just like she's been most of the week. So yeah, every single quarterfinal, of course, on the women's side, just absolutely sucked. It seems.
I just saw Carlos let a ball go, and I thought it was going to drop in for a second. I don't know if
Yeah.
Carlos at the last moment thought the same, because he did sort of kind of not quite grin, but it was there was a look on Carlos's face that looked like, oh, I think I kind of got away with that, as in like he let it go, but he didn't expect it to be quite so close. And I have seen, funny enough, Carlos let a few balls go and they have landed in. So if there's a chink in the armor out there, ladies and gentlemen, you got to hit a shot that looks like it's going to land out, and but eventually it needs to land in. So do that, and that's the way to beat Carlos Alcaraz. But try and engineer a point in that way, and well, you're a bit of a magician. He's got a game point now, which is quite significant, bearing in mind he was love 30 down at one point. Damien, I'm on the beer, by the way, so keep an eye out for slurring and mistakes and just usual stuff, really. It doesn't matter if I'm on tea or beer; it's equal.
On the beer, okay, sure.
You don't use that expression in
No,
be
no,
on the
no,
beer.
no.
I mean, there's a word beginning with P, and it's not the worst word in English. It rhymes with kiss, and it begins with P.
Yeah.
We often say that in the UK, to be on the. That just means drinking.
Yeah, I get it.
You got it.
I was just it kind of sounds like a drug or of some sorts. Then if you say on the
Okay,
beer,
yeah.
but
I
I guess it
think
is a drug. It is a drug.
it is a drug, but I think the article changes the meaning. It feels like it
Mm-hmm.
does. So if I said I'm on beer, if I'm on a form, like if I'm
Okay.
on a certain drug, you would drop, and yet on the beer sounds like you're on a journey, if you like. Although I guess you're on a journey with the other things too, and of course that's what people are tuning in for. Game point now for Alcaraz,
Who is on the journey to defend his US Open crown?
quite possibly.
Ooh. I think it's Zverev looking pretty sharp physically, right? So far, of course, it's just the first set, but
He mentioned in his I'm
mhm.
a bit closer to your viewing. I'm guessing, bearing in mind I just heard your reaction, but I'm still not quite with you. I'm about 5 seconds closer than I was, I think, last night. But yes, he did mention it though, or it was mentioned to him, and he responded. But it did feel like that he was struggling. I mean, I know it was fairly obvious to you and I, but he was struggling against Sinner in that fifth set.
In that third set, he was already out of it pretty much, but Sinner was the same,
Yeah.
if not worse. But yeah,
Good
so far.
return.
Oh,
I
you're
mean, it was.
definitely like 5 seconds closer to me, yeah.
Yeah, I am about 5 seconds closer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was there to be hit, and maybe if Alcaraz doesn't try and do a serve volley on that one, I'd probably have to watch again to see if Alcaraz hesitated as well with that serve volley effort. But we've got a break point now. What are you thinking? It was just a great return.
Yeah, I don't think he did really. This return would not have been as great if he stayed out, if he stayed behind the baseline, but that's the gamble you take.
Yeah, right. But it was there. Maybe Zverev anticipated it because he was on it like a flash.
Yeah, Zverev could have been, could have returned very differently if Alcaraz wasn't charging the net. Yeah, no way of knowing.
I couldn't, and I still can't make my mind up as to which would have been the more tricky. As Zverev dumps a backhand into the net, so we're back at juice. Which would have been the more tricky encounter for Alcaraz, Sinner, or Zverev? If we just put the physical, attritional side of things to one side, maybe we might go into a period now of not exactly domination, but we might see a couple of comfy wins for Alcaraz over Sinner. That the 2022 matches that they had might be a thing of the past until maybe Sinner ups his game again, or it could have been another amazing 5-setter. I don't know.
Why would Sinner have to up his game again?
Because I think Alcaraz is even better than he was a year ago.
Yeah, but I mean, they played this year as well, right?
In Miami, true. Yeah.
And earlier than that in Indian Wells as well too.
Yeah, I guess they won one match each there. Yeah.
Yeah, very different conditions, and both were super close.
So are you suggesting that you think Sinner would have been the trickier opponent for Carlos?
Yeah. Watching this right now, I guess it sort of changes my judgment. So I don't know
Yeah,
if I can
yeah, yeah, yeah.
really give the answer to, if Alcaraz wins from here, like in 4 fairly easy sets or 3 sets, then we're probably gonna say it was Sinner.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing that Zverev is coming so close right now, yeah, I cannot really answer to this anymore. Well, before the match, I would have said Sinner, but yeah, no, maybe not. We'll see. Of course, we're never gonna get both matches, so it's only gonna be really what ifs. But yeah, so far the physical stuff is just as you called it. I think it's just not changing anything. But
Zverev having a bit of a look at the serve there, and he probably should have won that point. Went long with the forehand. Did you catch much or any of Medvedev Rublev?
yeah, most of it. It was a sad matchup, just like Djokovic against Fritz. There's a lot of similarity because yeah, both matches are just a one-dimensional ball striker, who is, well, even more glued to the baseline than Taylor Fritz, just getting exposed by a better mover, better defender, better athlete. Yeah, it was pretty much the same in that sense, and even with Medvedev struggling physically quite a lot and more than Rublev, I would say, even though the conditions were brutal for both players. Basically, since the first set, even there were moments when they had issues walking and not even running. But yeah, even with that, even with Rublev going up a break in every set, I think he wasn't
Yeah.
able to produce anything out of it. And yeah, it's just, I mean, we knew this matchup is a disaster for Rublev, but to sort of go away this tamely with that, with actually like his opponent struggling with the heat quite a lot. Yeah, it's quite awful for him. Obviously, ninth lost quarterfinal. I don't think it's the worst loss he's had. For me personally, I don't even think that Cilic won it. Roland Garros was the worst one. I think it was maybe how he lost to Tiafoe in the US Open 2022, or maybe how he lost to Tsitsipas in the French 2020. And I'm talking about, yeah, just how lopsided these matches were. But here he played an opponent who was definitely tougher for him than that. And yeah, 3 of these 9 quarterfinals against Medvedev, and he's still yet to take a set in their matches, which happened at that stage of a slam. So yeah, it was just a brutal thing. After literally after the first set, you could tell what was gonna happen, and you could tell that there's no point watching that anymore. I still did until the end, but like end of set 3, I was just hoping that it's going to finish as soon as possible. I mean, there were moments when it seemed like Andrei Rublev is also hoping that it's going to finish as soon as possible. He was just really delaying the punishment. And Fritz Djokovic, yeah, it was the exact sort of unwatchable thing, I think. And yeah, basically the only quarterfinal that has been any interesting at all so far has been Tiafoe Shelton, and that's both women's and men's. which is a
Yep.
bit disappointing. But
Yeah.
Alcaraz Zverev looks like it might be giving us something to.
Yeah. I think it might have been Ghosty was just asking, have the conditions, because I think I posed the question of this year's US Open compared to the previous 3, maybe even 4 versions. I'd have to think a bit more deeply about the 2019 one, but even as I was talking about 2021 and 2022, I started to think about 2020, and I started to think about the men's final, at least for drama. I started to think about the women's semifinals in 2020. And so the more I started to think about it, I started to think actually the last 3 were pretty good, but the last 2 in particular were epic tournaments for so many different reasons. And yet this year has been, Carlitos putting a volley in the net where he probably just had to get it in play. It wasn't that easy. Anyway, but Ghosty was saying maybe the weather, maybe the heat, maybe the conditions have played a role in some of the lackluster matches we've had, particularly in the second week. I think it's just been we've had some matches such as Taylor Fritz, Djokovic, such as Rublev, Medvedev, such as maybe Ostapenko having one of those days as she did against Goff. And if you get that, once that quarterfinal lineup was there and you're looking at it, you're going, oh, it could be a couple of damn, or even the draw. And you saw Djokovic's draw, and you saw, okay, Carlos could be interesting if he gets Sinner in the quarters. But even the draw, I think, and you see that Medvedev is not on the side of Djokovic, for example, on the men's side. Yeah, it had the potential of doing what has been doing more than the conditions, I would suggest.
Yeah, I mean the conditions are the same for both players, and yeah, Medvedev, Rublev both were struggling. Zverev, Sinner both were struggling. Well, Zverev, Sinner was actually one of the matches that delivered. Besides,
It was difficult
despite
to
that,
evaluate that one for a variety of
yeah,
reasons. A, because it was like 7 a.m. for us when it finished, but B, because of the physical condition. I don't know. Was it a great match? I don't really know.
yeah, of course not. I mean, at the beginning maybe, but later on it was both guys really struggling. But at least it had some entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's definitely like this event. The first week there was that long streak of matches on Arthur Ashe that were absolutely woeful,
Yeah.
and some of that could be blamed on the scheduling, some of that could be just random. But yeah, right now we still, before any of these matches, which disappointed. Well, Kista Mukhova, I guess no one was really talking about, but like Ostapenko Goff, of course, everyone was more excited about than
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
actually ended up being. It's the danger of Ostapenko.
Yeah.
Keys Vondrousova, I think everyone expected to be fairly close. Kim Venženk, you still sort of try to lie to yourself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't like the matchup, but she's so talented. She's probably going to do something there. Well, not. And, well, yeah, I think I was just sort of lying to myself. But then again, they had never played before. So, like, you could say that it was just assumptions, right? That she was going to struggle against Sabalenka. And then on the men's side, you have Djokovic Fritz, where everyone was like, Fritz is playing so well, right? 12 sets, and then the 12 sets, no sets lost, broken like once or something. And yeah, he's just playing so well that the matchup stuff is not going to matter. Rublev Medvedev, again, I've seen a lot of people kidding themselves and saying that the conditions, today, the weather, the balls are not going to be as fast. It's going to help Medvedev. Sorry, it's going to help Rublev, and this is a wonderful opportunity for him. Not really, and that's yeah, that's basically how it's worked. There's been a lot of matches that should be lopsided on paper. That's how it seems, but then we still try, we still try lying to ourselves. We still try saying no, it's not going to be like that. This time they actually have a shot. Someone who has a shot at clinching the first set now is Carlos Alcaraz, as he
He
breaks
just
with a couple of
broke.
great returns. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was
that
Ferdy, love Ferdy as well in this game, right?
it was 30 love. Yeah. Yeah. It was 30 love, right, to Zverev. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love Ferdy from his perspective. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. and that that last return was good. But it was almost comical though. Not because he did anything wrong, Zverev, after that, but the way he struggled to get his racket on it. And to be fair, it did land over the side of the net, but he was sort of stumbling into it like I do on a Friday night as I come home from the pub. And it just landed over the net, and it had a weird bounce to it. And I still thought I saw a couple of horrible misses today from Madison Keys, funny enough, who ended up winning the match. But there was a couple of horrible misses from her close to the net today. Zverev has got a statement of intent here, has he? Oh, it's landed in, and he's tried to do a spectacular backhand down the line. I mean, again, it's one of those points where Alcaraz seems to be a little bit down in the point, but just pulls off a lot. I mean, the lob from him over a guy as tall as and it has to be pinpoint over the height of Zverev. It's one. Listen, Mukova last night was great with the lob as well, but Castello is not quite as tall as Zverev.
Yeah, relatively speaking, I guess she kind of is pretty tall for the women's
She
tour,
is,
but
yeah, true,
but
yeah.
that's actually interesting that it's one of these things that where it really changes a lot, right? That it's always going to be a lot easier for someone to be lobbed on the WTA tour.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're Karolina Pliskova.
An ace from Alcaraz brings up 3 set points. His first ace of the set. Probably unsurprisingly, Zverev has more aces, but more importantly, Alcaraz has 3 set points as he just sort of grabbed that set from nowhere. As you said, 30 love, both players fairly comfortable on serve. And he wins it after Zverev nets on the return. Have you paid any attention to the little tittle tattle, which is an English expression meaning just little talk regarding Alcaraz's hamstring issue or thigh issue?
No, this is actually okay. I mean, I don't really know, but this has been really pissing me off. Like, these are professional athletes, you know. They are playing with something all the time. Like, you're never fully healthy. Are we really gonna spend hours,
I'm the same, Damien. I'm the same.
dissecting?
I've
Yeah,
always got
are we
trouble.
really gonna? Oh, so you're the same in that sense, okay? But like, are you really gonna spend hours dissecting the fact that Alcaraz has some tape on his left thigh? I mean, the amount of tweets that I've seen about this is really way too much for what it actually is, probably. And if it ends up being a problem, fine. We're gonna see it when it actually happens. I mean, so far there's no indication of that whatsoever. So yeah, obviously it would be great to play with no tape, no bandage whatsoever. That's the ideal situation for any player. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start worrying about this when it's actually a problem. And so far, he has had a pretty not like a rather non-physical route to the quarterfinals. Today, I mean, honestly, we are like 1 or 2 breaks away from this becoming another snooze fest.
Yeah, yeah.
Hope maybe it doesn't happen, but we are sort of damaged by the previous quarterfinals of the 2023 US Open. So I've already started thinking about like Alcaraz breaking early soon, and then yeah.
Was just looking back, because I remember post Australia this year thinking how much of a snooze fest the men's side was, and yet the women's side I was pumped. And yet looking back, I'm just wondering if how much I was influenced by the final on the women's side this year in Australia. I'm just wondering if that affected my outlook on how I thought exciting that women's tournament was. But no, I think there were some good matches. I think Pegula, Azarenka, even Rybakina, Daniel Collins springs to mind as well. So there was intrigue and there was doubt, I think, throughout. In fact, probably until championship point. And of course, there was a story with somebody having never won their first title. Just looking back, but yeah, this year's US Open thus far. I mean, if we have 4 amazing semi-finals and 2 amazing finals, then that just changes everything. But are we going to get on the men's side? Are we going to get two amazing semifinals?
I mean, Alcaraz Medvedev is always an exciting matchup. I think, even if the last two matches have looked like they did, you kind of will be interested to see if Medvedev brings out something different this time. I don't know if he will, but that's gonna be something to I guess check out. I think in the long run, it's also probably not going to be like that every time. Like I would assume that at some point Alcaraz has a weaker showing against him. I don't know if it's gonna be here. And Djokovic, who is playing Ben Shelton, that could be both a total beatdown and also a close match. So I am excited to see which one it is. Let's roll the dice, really.
I
And
agree, but I think
mhm.
isn't weirdly enough, I in a lot of Djokovic matches, in particular this tournament, I'm doom and gloom, and in terms of how competitive it will be, and Laszlo
Mhm.
aside, it tends to be that way. And even the Laszlo match, although I didn't see it, it did appear to have a sort of Yannick Sinner Wimbledon quarterfinal of 2022 feel to it, in that really it was always going to be there within Novak's grasp. And yet, going into the semi-finals, if you said to me there's going to be somebody bucking a trend, or the underdog winning, maybe it's Ben over Novak. Or at least if you said to me one of them is going to be a barnstorming 4-5 setter with intrigue and crazy points and twists and turns, I'm probably leaning more to the Ben Shelton Djokovic match, albeit with an inevitable winner.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit bold. I think I don't really know what to think, because on the one hand, like Medvedev is just far too good for us to treat him this way. I think,
Yeah,
but
maybe. Yeah,
there are serious matchup issues, right? I mean, yeah, I don't really know how he combats the out wide serve and volleying.
yeah.
We saw him maybe mix up the return position a bit at Wimbledon, and it was not working out at all
No.
for him. Surely he has spent some time thinking about the Alcaraz matchup with Gil Silvara and the team since then. Maybe he surprises with something, but yeah, the reason why I can't really get behind it is just, yeah, I feel like I cannot possibly say that about Medvedev, not about
Mm.
someone who's just so good and such a dominant force on hard courts. But yeah, I get what you mean. The last two matches of Alcaraz against Medvedev looked like they could play 100 sets, and Carlos would win them all. So
Yeah, and yeah.
I mean, it happens. Medvedev Rublev, I think we talked about it like a week ago, where after the first set in Cincinnati, there were so many people on Twitter saying that it's another never in doubt final. And Medvedev was like, what, 5-0 against Rublev at the time or something, 4-0 maybe, and every single match was just extremely disappointing. Whereas then he wins the first set of the Cincinnati final and actually loses to him, and of course also lost another time. So it's not like in these matches between like top quality opposition they're gonna beat them every single time. I think Sinner has a win against Medvedev sometime. I don't know if soon, but at some point in his career, he came very close at the ATP finals, of course. So I am sort of I don't really wanna just instantly say that Alcaraz has to beat Medvedev every time 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. But there is a possibility of that, obviously, and yeah, the last two matches were absolutely just unwinnable for Daniel.
That's a lovely forehand winner there from Zverev. Funny enough, it's just how narratives get built. If Carlos hits that forehand, maybe I react differently, because that was very, very good from Zverev, 15 all on the Alcaraz serve. Yeah, yeah. What I wanted to say in response to that is something that Shrihui said earlier, and that sort of got my attention. Whether I agreed or disagree, I don't know, but he said something like Medvedev is a good returner. It was within the context of this match with Rublev. So is Medvedev a really good returner, and B, is Rublev a bad returner? Is that accurate?
I don't know. I mean, Rublev is probably mediocre. I would say
Mediocre, yeah.
that's not why he lost.
But also no, it's not why he lost. But is Medvedev a good returner? I don't know. I didn't
I
never
mean,
thought. I mean, he's not bad. I just didn't think of that as an element to his game of in a Djokovic or Agassi esque
mm, I mean, he has to be one of the best at like neutralizing serves. He stands so far back
neutralizing, maybe.
that
Yeah,
it's
good pass
easy for
control.
him. But then again, like of course, if you serve and volley, what is he gonna do? And
That's
then
right.
sometimes he surprises you with like a huge down the line return winner out of
Mhm.
position, out of the
Mhm.
court.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that's a super risky shot. That's a shot you make one time in 10. So I think he's a very because of his return position as well, and then like the unique approach to it, he is definitely a very peculiar returner, among the best in the sport, 100%, but
But
very exposable
well,
in
exactly. Can
certain
you
ways.
can you be considered a good returner when people use the serve and volley tactic against you in a largely non-serve and volley sport nowadays?
Yeah, but it's not like, everyone on the tour is just serving volleying against Medvedev with amazing results. Because he stands so far back, the ball coming back at you is going to be pretty huge. It's going to be pretty heavy, tough to control on the first volley. It's not exactly like 100% thing, unless you're Carlos Alcaraz and you're serving volleying out wide to against Medvedev at like 90% points won in both Indian Wells at Wimbledon. But it's still not something that Alcaraz is doing every point, right? It was like what,
No.
25 points maybe at Wimbledon. It's still a huge advantage, absolutely. But yeah, I think if we take away the return as one of Medvedev's strengths, then that would be already a pretty big hit to the player that we know.
So my unscientific and never been a tennis coach in my life approach to the Medvedev return against Carlos, bearing in mind I'd heard the arguments for as in, why isn't he doing something different? Oh, he does something different in that Wimbledon semi-final in particular. Was well, there is a third option. Rather than just necessarily changing the service return point, the third option is to do something you touched upon in one of your comments just now, which is to kind of go for it a bit on the return. You,
Yeah,
you suggested 1 in 10. I might suggest that you might get a bit more success with it, particularly with some practice. Maybe I don't know if you can find a practice partner in the next 48 hours to just hit serves out wide and just constantly go for it and try and get somewhere near a 3 out of 10 ratio, and then you've got a chance of winning 4 points in a service game. Yeah, that would be, because I don't think you can't teach an old dog new tricks and just say, look, return from the baseline.
yeah, it was clearly messing up his timing quite a lot when he did that against
Yeah,
Alcaraz. Of course, it's in some other matches he was able to pull it off on occasion. Maybe it's different if he starts doing that from the beginning of the match and not just throws it in the middle of it. But yeah, I would say probably try to make it as tough as possible for Alcaraz on the first volley. I don't know
yeah.
if it's by going just hard at him, if it's by going maybe for like a shorter angle cross court. Maybe it's going for that huge return down the line, but it is possible. And yeah, maybe that's the key. Of course, in both at Wimbledon and at Indian Wells, when the return was good, and when it was actually giving him some sort of a shot, Alcaraz would come up with like some insane touch on the first volley, and I think even more so than serving great out wide, he was actually just the first volley was just incredible, and then that's maybe also why you actually need some amazing skill to pull off this tactic against Medvedev. But yeah, maybe that's that. Maybe I would agree that maybe that's the key rather than trying something else in terms of the returning position. In general, Medvedev's comfort zone is like 2 or 3 meters behind the court, and there's really no one else on the tour who can expose it better than Alcaraz. And it's not just serve and volleying; it's of course the drop shot. It's the way he can also lure him forward. Yeah, it's definitely a terrible matchup. Like everything that Medvedev does seems to fall into Alcaraz's hands.
Yeah,
But he
it's
still
almost as
needs
if
to play pretty smart, right? So
yeah.
maybe there's a chance, he comes out onto the court, he's not as confident as usual. He falls behind a little bit, and then everything can get tricky. And maybe then the first volley that he was so clutch on at Wimbledon or at Indian Wells, maybe that's where it actually gets tough. Well, it of course still could be Alexander Zverev in the semifinals.
I was about to say something about Indian Wells. I was about to ask you about Indian Wells and court speed and conditions and comparing them to New York. But as I started to think about it, I was just thinking, yeah, but they just played each other at Wimbledon as well. So Wimbledon and Indian Wells, can you get two more different kind of conditions? I know people talk about the Australian Open being very fast court, but yes, so he's pulled off the same trick in two very different scenarios.
Yeah.
Mind
Also,
you,
the way he was returning at Wimbledon too, which that seemed like an advantage that Medvedev could possibly exploit, and then Alcaraz is just so return, playing like return plus 1 points basically when he started being really confident. And I mean, he's
oh
pretty
wow,
confident right now here too.
and that was a
That's a pretty
great
ridiculous
point, by the
point
way.
to break. Yeah.
It was a great point from both players, actually. I mean, they both
Yeah.
hit
No.
winners against some people on the tour
No,
3 or 4
that backhand
times.
up the line from Zverev was pretty good. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
out of
but the
position. He
speed,
landed that, but
yeah.
it was not enough to win the point anyway. So it is that set in a break now, and you kind of have to wonder if the match will also um, not really like go into that snooze fest bummer territory that we were talking about.
um, yeah, I had one or two more things to elaborate on. Oh, I know what it was. The only real other thing I want to add was this Carlos Alcaraz return that I've just saw, I think in that last service game, I think on a couple of occasions, particularly on the second serve on the backhand, where he's kind of just jumping into it and doing so with just unbelievable levels of success. It's a second serve from Sasha Zverev, so a lot of fun has been made about Zverev's second serve, but probably more so when he's tight than all the time. But is that something that Carlos has improved upon? Because I don't remember the second serve returns being a big thing for Carlos 18 months ago. But maybe they were always there and I just didn't notice them so much.
I don't know. I mean, he was always really aggressive on them, right? Just like on everything, really.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think it's a particular area that has changed all that much. I don't
Okay.
really think of it. I don't know.
I mean, there's several things that spring to mind with Carlos, or sprang to mind 18 months ago, in terms of the aggression, in terms of the forehand, in terms of the drop shot. But I wasn't thinking about the return as much, and I wasn't thinking about this particular return that I think I saw twice in that service game of Zverev, where he's just jumping and pouncing
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
return like he does, and I don't recall that happening as often in the past, but maybe it was always there, and there were so many other things I was just paying attention to.
15 all right, and then the break point. Yeah, I know which ones you mean.
So it feels like a long way back here for Zverev, albeit that Carlos has just gone long with a forehand, so it is love 15. Yeah, I mean, we can get, as I say, we can get some sensational semi-finals. There is a chance, of course, though, that Ben Shelton isn't relaxed, and Novak
Yeah,
Djokovic, best hard court player of all time, and 23 Grand Slams. The Alcaraz, Medvedev matchup does materialize. Madison Keys, Sabalenka, there is a warm favorite there, and it's not Madison Keys. Coco Gauff, Mukova, maybe of the four semifinals, the one that's most likely to deliver, or if I said
I
to you
don't
this,
know.
if I said to you this, there's going to be 3 straight setters and one that doesn't go straight sets. I mean, I guess that's a bit tricky because men obviously have played best of 5, so it could be 4.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
okay,
like
we'll
on the
put it
women's
like this.
side, even if it's straights, it doesn't really mean much, right? But
No,
if
no,
it's straights on the men's, you're already thinking, okay, so like really lopsided.
yeah. All right, one is close, one is competitive, one is to the last ball. Perhaps you're still not quite sure. Is it Mukova Goff that springs to mind when it comes to that?
I don't know. I think the best of 3 format makes it kind of impossible to compare that. You know, I also cannot really get too excited for it because of that. I think because like yeah, it could be over in an hour. Like it could be a good match and it's over in an hour.
Yeah,
Of course, that's what we get on the main tour every single time. But like yeah, there is a possibility for, and that's that. You know, it's like the Cincinnati final, for example. Was it a poor match? Not really, but it was 6-3, 6-4 Goff, and there's like no real story. There's nothing to write home about.
do you say that in Polish as well? Nothing to write home about.
Um, no, I don't think so.
I just like it's a good funny phrase. I use it
Yeah,
a lot myself, but it's just funny. 30 all now. Alcaraz was in a bit of trouble there, and Zverev has hit a few unforced errors, but to be fair to Sasha, it's not Taylor Fritz, Djokovic. I don't think in terms of. I think this has been closer than that in a way, and I think Alcaraz is delivering a bit more than Djokovic had to. I know a
yeah,
lot. I know a lot was made about the 7-0 going into that matchup, and sorry, Fritz's deficiencies, if you like, were always going to get exposed. But there were chances for Taylor, even in that 6-1 first set. So many times I thought, oh, hang on a second, Taylor's up here in the
I
rally.
mean, then again, he never even held in the first set. You know.
Right, exactly. And maybe I'm thinking
Yeah,
he had chance in the first set because of that. So Taylor could do 3 solid service games. He can do that. He can serve really well. So
yeah, but by the time he broke, he was already down. I mean, he was already down in the scoreboard.
agree. Oh yeah, in terms of the scoreboard, he was not in that set as a 6-1 suggests. But you just watch a point, just watching every point, and you're thinking he's up in this point. He should win it, and he's just dumping a fairly easy forehand into the net.
Well, he definitely wasn't playing too well, but you know, are you really winning it if you're just sending, you know, big blows down the middle? You're glued to the baseline. Djokovic is just handling it as he usually does, handle like linear power, absorbing everything, and there's nothing really. Oh, great point. There's nothing really that you can do against it. Are you really up in the point, or is it the guy who's actually like, you know, defending, let's say, or maybe just counter punching a little bit? Is it actually this guy who sort of has it under control and in
That last point,
reality
that
has
last point
nothing to do with it?
that last point was great
Yeah.
as it turned into a kind of badminton match. I don't even know what I don't know how to compare when you're doing that sort of volleys. When you got like 2 guys that are 3 meters apart hitting volleys to each other is fun. But just quickly, great point. I do prefer it when it ends in a winner. You know, if you just said to me, "This is the best point of the year," I know where you're coming from. It was a great point. I'm not saying it. There was some intrigue and reflexes and movement and players in weird positions. But if I said to you, if I made a case for whatever point it happened to be as being the point of the year, and it ended in an unforced error or even a forced error, you're thinking it can't be point of the year, right? It has to finish in a winner.
Depends if it was like a really long one and some crazy stuff happened. No, but it's better for the sort of highlights if it does indeed. And somehow I feel like this isn't scientific at all, but I feel like a lot of great points actually end in winners more so than like usual rallies. I don't know how it is, but it seems to me like every single time if there's a and it happens to me when playing too. Like every single time when there's a sort of a very long exchange and like you're both aware that this has been pretty wonderful. I don't know, you simply maybe are so focused at the end of it that that you're actually going to make the final shot, no matter how risky it is. Of course, that's not a rule that's going to work out every time, but yeah, just also regarding that the Djokovic Fritz that we talked about, I just wanted to say that I kind of think that Novak simply had him where he wanted him. It doesn't matter that Fritz was really up in some rallies or whatever. And yeah, Fritz is actually still yet to win a set against Djokovic in a match where Djokovic doesn't have a huge abdominal tear. So that's a stat to think about, I think.
Yeah. A stat to think about right now is that Alcaraz leads by a set in 3-1. And I think he's ready to pounce on a second serve. Who is it? Yes, lovely. Yeah. Hit the net.
3,000 by the end of the US Open. That's our goal. Subscribers, I mean.
Yeah. You think that sounds? Do you think that's so ambitious, or you think? What are you thinking?
I haven't really been following the progression. I know if a few days ago it was about 40 less, maybe, or something like that.
Well, I can tell you this. No, I can tell you this. I think you're underestimating things because we added about 30 or 40 in one day, and
Yeah,
that was
you said that on one of those streams.
yeah. I mean, we probably added about 30 just from one match. It was the Zheng Jabeur match, which was pretty quick.
Jabber.
Yeah, Zheng Jabeur. For one reason or another, people were just tuning in, and if it had gone 3 sets, it would have probably been sort of close to one of our most watched streams. But it just happened to be 6-2, 6-4, I think. But yeah, we added about 30. That even just that 2-hour period, because I think 3-hour period we had just before it. Did we have Alcaraz Al Naldi? Probably putting the 2 matches together, we probably added 30. So yeah, I think we will probably get to, I could be wrong, but I think by Sunday we'll be on 3,000. We'll see. Could be wrong. I've the YouTube and internet and algorithm stuff just have no idea. Really.
Yeah.
I spoke to Jack
Well,
about oh, lovely passing shot, Sasha Zverev. I spoke to Jack about the success he had with the interview he did with the biomechanics coach.
Biomechanics coach, yeah.
Yeah, and what was the not the secret, but what was it worth then? And he just said, look, well, of course, it was a great interview and it was a great idea. And I think you put those two things together and you're going far. But he also said the timing in terms of getting it done and doing it as quickly after her Australian Open win within sort of 24 hours. I guess it was something that was probably set up before that. But you do the same interview 2 weeks later, maybe 5 other people have done similar stuff. And that ship has sailed.
Yeah, great idea and great interview do not have to click. Definitely not. And in this case, actually, it worked out for sure. And it was a fantastic idea to invite the guy.
Yeah, definitely.
But sometimes it won't give you results. Well, like I would say most of the time, it still won't give you results. Yeah, that was definitely a very good moment to do that interview at.
It might sound strange, but good audio as well. The YouTube somehow kind of knows what it's or also lighting, but I think audio even more. It might sound weird, but if you and me don't have mics for this particular watch along. You know, I think maybe it's the algorithm, but possibly more so that just people don't hang around. It's a huge thing. I didn't quite realize it myself, how important it was until probably the last year or so. But the audio is I mean, it's far more important than so just sounding quite good. Didn't work.
Yeah, we're entering that sort of territory where Alcaraz is just playing so freely that just takes over with the forehand so swiftly, and then of course he tries something out of this world and that did not pan out, but still.
The sort of underwhelming nature of some of the matches in recent days on the singles was reflected in and the weather as well, and the attritional weather was reflected in Anastasia's video reviewing last night's action. I'm actually going to play it right now because it's a cool video, but also yeah, she's made an attritional day, if you like, quite fun, I think. So I'm just going to play it right now.
Fine. I did it so you don't have to. This was truly the toughest tennis watching conditions I've ever experienced. Did you know you can see the length of Manhattan from the highest point on Ash? Well, now you do. As tennis watching venues go, Ash is not my favorite. I prefer smaller, more intimate courts and medium-sized stadiums. I will miss Louis Armstrong. But starting today, all singles matches are now on Ash only. First up on Ash for the night session was Karolina Muchova versus Soraya Cristea. Although some games were long, Cristea was no match for Muchova, who took the first set 6-love. And although her right forehand was taped, it didn't seem to affect her hitting. A consistent Muchova is now a US Open semifinalist. Then it was time for the main event, Ben Shelton versus Frances Tiafoe. It felt like a WWE match. Every time Ben would serve, everyone would look at the speed clock. Tiafoe looked good in moments, but I guess wasn't ready to die on court like he proclaimed earlier on this tournament. Ben Shelton put on a show. If you had told me at the start of this tournament that Ben Shelton would be the one American who made it through, I would not have believed you. But here's looking at you, kid, and good luck with Novak.
So, Ben Shelton overcoming their Frances Tiafoe in what until now has been the only quarterfinal of note. Yes, Damien. I just heard a draw of breath that suggested you were gonna say something.
No, not really. I was a bit surprised, I guess, with the casual Casablanca quote at the end. But
Okay,
I don't know if I
yeah.
wanted. I don't know if I
Easy
wanted to
to
say
agree.
something. But
There's been a couple of
yeah.
gems from her in the last couple of days. I loved a comment that she made about Andrei Rublev's temperament in her previous video. It was just kind of, I mean, she's obviously doing just 2-minute videos, so you've got to get get them in somewhere. But it was just funny, and that video as well. I mean, maybe chuckle a couple of times. She was right though in that Tiafoe sort of never really showed up last night.
Yeah, and then again, he actually had a set point to go to one up, right?
Yeah. But one person in that tie break and in that point, one person showed up.
Hmm. In that tiebreak, sorta. The back-to-back double faults, but yeah,
Oh,
on
of
that point
course.
for sure.
You could, but in the Wimbledon final, for example, the women's final, the Vondrousova
Hmm.
Jabeur final, you had one person nowhere near their potential in Jabeur, and you had another person who's like, oh, okay, all I've got to do is just get this ball in court, and probably it'll work out. Perhaps during the tiebreak last night, Francis Tiafoe sort of took a leaf out of the Marquetta book, but it didn't work because ultimately one person did show up. Shelton showed up. Okay, he double faulted back to back. That happens. He doesn't
I
lose.
actually think this might be the first time I've seen this. 6-5 in the tiebreak, you're serving and then you double fault twice.
Back to back.
That's very rare. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
But I mean, I think at the time I suggested he'd gone big on the second serves, albeit the shot clock didn't
yeah,
mirror
I don't
that.
think he did. Either of them, I think, were more
No, but
sliced or
I think
spin
what I'm
heavy.
saying is going big or unforced errors or yes, I mean sometimes it can just be 1 point showing up, and I still think that he was passive in that tiebreak. That's what I'm probably ultimately getting at. I still think he was passive in the tiebreak. I think he was passive at times during the match, and maybe didn't leave it all on court. And that's not to say there was a lack of effort. I'm sure he was desperate to get to that semi-final, but
There was a lack of energy for sure.
energy,
Not
conviction, yeah,
effort. I don't think so, but yeah, energy, conviction.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Good vibes all around were
good
missing from
vibes,
his game, which
indeed,
usually he has.
yeah. It's funny, in okay, it happened possibly on a tennis court yesterday, but I can think of conversations you have with people, and you go, "Wow, this guy's the funniest guy ever," and there's another guy who's like one of the funniest guys ever as well. You go, "Oh, wow, this is just gonna," and one of the two people often goes into their shell or just sort of it just doesn't work. You can't, two's a crowd is not the expression. Three's a crowd is the expression, of course. But sometimes when there's two people that want to dominate the show, it just doesn't work. And one person was the entertainment last night, and unfortunately for Francis, it wasn't him.
Yeah, one person is dominating the show here, and even if he's not winning the points, he's just constantly just running forward right now. Maybe this will actually lead to some sort of moment of losing composure for Alcaraz. It has in the past, I think, but so far, of course, he's not really struggling at all in this one, especially on his own serve.
I wonder what happened. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to it since, but I wonder what happened to Alcaraz in that Cincinnati final where I think he was leading 4-2. Did he clock out? Was Djokovic? Because I don't remember Djokovic being amazing. But then I just said that about Djokovic's
No,
match with Fitz, and I don't know. Did he think this is done? Did he just have a couple of bad points? Because it
there
was
was
very
one game, I guess, right?
one game.
Yeah, 4-2 or whatever it was.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's 4-2. I mean, it was very close to being a fairly underwhelming final. It was very close to being a Coco Gauff Mukova final. And for that reason, I think it was amazing for a set and a half, but I don't quite put it in the pantheon of great 3-set matches, even from the last sort of 5-10 years. Just because, can you put it in that bracket when half of it was underwhelming?
I think so. I think really if it's the first set, that's amazing, and then the rest is just okay, then you cannot. But I think no one will remember that the first sets were
They
mediocre in
won't.
a while,
No.
in some time. It's very possible that we're going to be talking about this match in, let's say, 10 years, and people are going to bring this up as, what a classic that was. And then some hardcore tennis fans are going to be like, but the first set, but the second set.
But
But
was it
essentially,
better
it
than the
only
one they
fired
had in
up in the
Madrid?
third.
Was it better than their match in
No, no,
Madrid?
no, no. I don't think so. I think
There
Madrid
you
was
go.
just thrilling from top start to
Exactly.
finish, basically. And I think Madrid was also way better than Wimbledon. Um, I think Madrid is really like truly able to rival Alcaraz Sinner from last year.
Alcaraz is just broken, by the way. I mean, he just dominated
Yeah,
that last point.
he's dominating every point right now. I mean, there was a +1 forehand winner, I guess, in this game from Zverev, I think for 30 all, but otherwise he's really just flying right now, and yeah. It's just, he's playing so freely that you think that nothing can really happen to him unless he loses focus, which I guess makes this match at least a bit more interesting than Medvedev Rublev or Djokovic Fritz, where it didn't even feel like one of these guys were playing their best tennis, and yet they were still progressing.
Um,
Maybe the conditions are a bit more manageable tonight because Sinner and Zverev was at night too, right? But
just one thing I want to just come back to you on is that Madrid final and comparing it to some of the other matches. I mean,
that was a final, by the way.
Sorry, Madrid semi-final, yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact,
I
that's
wasn't
part of
sure, but yeah, he played against Zverev in the final.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Actually, that's part of my response, funny enough, despite making that mistake. I think the occasion for me also, is relevant to the debate of where you put it in the pantheon of great matches. So a 5-set Wimbledon final, 3-set.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, yes. I agree with you. That's why a lot of people will still be like comparing these two matches. Everyone will still be voting Sinner Alcaraz because it's a bigger stage, because it's a bigger match, right? Which personally, I my favorite was actually Alcaraz Djokovic Madrid. Yeah. So, but I don't really care about the stage. If there was a challenger match that I believed was the best all year, I could easily choose it. I think in like 2020, I kept saying that my favorite match of the year was Punta del Este final between Cecchinato and Monteiro, and I would stick by it, or Alcaraz Musetti in Trieste, one of these two. And I don't really care, but I know most people will choose the slams. Also, it's what most people watch, obviously.
Yeah, but then you throw in history, 5 sets, attrition, 27-minute games, albeit that occurred in the first 3 sets. I guess I'm maybe conflating things a little bit, but I would also add that this weekend there could be the best goal of all time scored in a park in London, but it's not the same as doing it in a World Cup final. And then you go, that's the greatest goal of all time, and you can say, well, look at this video of some dude in Wimbledon Common doing a great goal, and it's like, yeah, that is a great goal actually, and that's worthy of but it's not a World Cup quarterfinal. And so my point is just Wimbledon final. If who knows how that Madrid match would have gone if it had gone. Maybe the next 2 sets would have been lame. I don't know. I mean, maybe it'd have been a 4-set match and all the rest of it. But it was a semi-final too. I just for whatever reason that does kind of alter my perspective on the level of a match. But I think I can compare Madrid a little bit more easily with Cincinnati and just say the level and the excitement and points for 3 sets were better than Cincinnati. As good as Cincinnati was, as good as it is, as dramatic and sensational, and these two guys just bring the best out of each other Carlos wins the second set 6-2. Peach is there suggesting something. I guess this is in reference to Alcaraz. The word cocky is a bit too negative for me. I just think it's normal to be up a set and a break, or 2 sets and a break, to just find it difficult to maintain that focus. Go on.
I mean, he has this a bit of a showboating mode where he suddenly just starts, maybe, I don't want to say thinking about the highlight reel, but like, yeah, he just tries to make incredible shots all the time, which sometimes I think can lead to his demise. But I always
can't
like
think of a
tend to
big match he's lost though because of that. He might have,
yeah, he might have like taken a bit
round.
longer. Yeah, he might have taken a bit longer than he should have. But
And he didn't do it in
yeah,
Cincinnati.
no, not really. He just had a poor game at like 4-2 or something. But yeah, it also is like somewhat connected to losing focus, because he just starts playing so freely, and like this all-out aggression that we saw in the second set. It can very easily go wrong if you just, I don't know, hit 2 shots out at the beginning of your service game, and then suddenly you're in trouble just because you were sort of, trying to go for too much, trying to just risk it on every single point. However, I also tend to think that this is part of what makes him special as a player too, and like part of his brand, part of what makes him such an exciting prospect and like a good successor to the big three and the likes. So I don't really think you should leave that. I think this is really part of his personality too, and sometimes changing something like that might be detrimental. He is like part of his success, I think, is having so much fun out there, and
Yeah.
if he just gave that up, maybe it's gonna be a process. Maybe over the years he's gonna add like more regulation, who knows. But yeah, if he cannot really get away from that. And maybe we saw that in the Tiafoe match actually, where Francis was not having fun out there on the court for the first time in a while, probably, and yeah, it just did not look half as good as usual.
Yeah.
I guess I'll also take a toilet break.
Go.
Zverev is taking one.
Yep. I'll speak to you soon.
How many minutes do I get?
You get as long as you want. You could have had a 3-hour nap, by the way. I wasn't going to wake you, so you can take as long as you want.
No, I mean, you had no option of waking me anyway, so.
I mean, I could. Yeah, I know, but I could try or send you a WhatsApp, but it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. Yeah, my
No,
phone is always
not.
in silent. But it did. Yeah,
My phone can
eventually.
My phone can wake me up even when it's on silent. My phone can wake me up when it's on silent sometimes. But I need to be in a light state of sleep, of course. If I was in a deep sleep.
Is it because of what? Because of the light or because of the...
No, the vibration.
Vibration. I don't even have vibration on, so yeah, for me it would not be possible. But eventually one of the alarm clocks that I had worked out, so that was fine. Although I can't. Well, right now I've woken up, but when I was getting to the stream, I had this thought that I'm actually kind of glad that the US Open is about to end, because I'm becoming really tired with all the sort of uneven sleep, and how I go to bed at for 2 hours in the middle of the night, and then I watch tennis for the next 5, and then I go to bed for 3 more hours. Yeah, I mean, I'm old.
You are getting old. Zverev, according to my TV, is having officially a medical timeout. You can do the same, and we'll speak to you in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, just a short toilet break.
Thanks for tuning into this watch along. While there's a break in play, here's a reminder to hit the like button, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Your support helps to keep the channel going. While we're here, you can now become a member to enjoy perks, including badges for the live chat, but also bonus material such as interviews with top players from both ATP and WTA tours. The membership link is pinned in the live chat. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. So whether it be serves or volleys, forehands or backhands, serve bots or drop shots, we've got you covered. Whether that be via our website, talking-tennis.com, where you can read features and interviews from our top writers. Or if you prefer us in audio form, you can... Thanks for tuning into this watch along. While there's a break in play, here's a reminder to hit the like button, subscribe and click that notification bell. Your support helps to keep the channel going. While we're here, you can now become a member to enjoy perks including badges for the live chat, but also bonus material such as interviews with top players from both ATP and WTA tours. The membership link is pinned in the live chat. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. So whether it be serves or volleys, forehands or backhands, serve bots or drop shots, we've got you covered. Whether that be via our website, talking-tennis.com, where you can read features and interviews from our top writers. Or if you prefer us in audio form, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Amazon or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. Remember, we offer you wall-to-wall coverage via our regular watch-alongs, magazine shows such as Nick's WTA Weekly or Damien and Mario's ATP version. Plus, we deliver top content from people on the ground, actually at the tournaments, so you get even nearer to the action. So, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Indeed. Right now, somebody who is missing out on tennis is Alexander Zverev because he's having officially a medical timeout. I saw one or two people speculating in the chat about the nature of that. Apparently, it's an inner thigh thing. I mean, I do think going into this match, the physical scenario from the matches 2 days ago, to me did suggest that could be an issue for Zverev. I need to see, of course, a lot more, and I didn't notice anything significant in that second set that suggested Zverev was going to require a medical timeout. Albeit it could just simply be just a bit of stiffness. Who knows?
And I guess tomorrow it's both matches even night session, right?
Apparently so, yeah.
Both
and
singles
to
matches.
be honest with you, I remember now the women's semi-finals last year were both night session. The men's
That's how it is for years. That's how it's been for years. Yeah.
Okay. The men's semi-finals last year, from memory, were like one sort of mid to late afternoon, and then the other one night session sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from memory, Casper
It
Ruud
did.
against...
With men's, it used to be different actually, because it used to be like just straight up 2 in a row. And I think you're right that last year, like one of them was actually 1 p.m. probably.
Oh yeah, it could even have been
1
as early
a.m. Sorry, 1 a.m. 1 a.m. I mean.
Oh yeah, the night one was 1 a.m. Yeah. But
Yeah,
from memory,
that's what I mean. And I think it used to be like straight up right after each other.
yeah, there was a gap last year, I think.
And I think last year was a gap. Yeah.
Sasha begins this set with a double fault. Oh yeah, I was at the Casper Ruud match against Kachanov, and it finished way before sunset, and it was 4 sets as well. So I'm guessing it started at 3 p.m., but I could be wrong on that one. I watched I watched the next one, but I watched it from the grounds rather than in the stadium. So my guess was it was like 3 p.m. for the first one, and then like 7:30 or whatever, 8 o'clock for the second one.
Yeah, basically I can check. I checked it on the tournament schedule, and it's 3 p.m. one of the semis, 7 p.m. the other semi. But yeah, that's basically, I think, that's basically how they did that. And I think this is in order to sell more tickets. Is it? I think
I
it
mean, it'll
could
be
be.
selling two. It'll sell two. Wimbledon, of course, for the men's semis
Yeah.
and the women's. You get both semi-finals on your thing, because I did it in 2019. I had Bautista Agut, Djokovic, and Nadal Federer.
Yeah, because there's no different sessions. They're right after
Yeah,
each other. And I think the
yeah,
US Open started doing that in two different sessions, basically to sell to get more money. Yeah.
yeah.
Because it didn't used to be like this. I remember in 2014, for example, I remember watching Nishikori, Djokovic, and then it was Cilic Federer like 20 minutes later. And it was definitely a lot earlier than 1 a.m. our time. I think it was
Djok-
maybe over by around 1 a.m. our time.
Djokovic Shelton, in theory, should be first. Terry,
Yeah, it will be. I'm pretty sure it will be.
I'm pretty sure it will be, but
I mean,
I'm
Tuesday they played Tuesday. There's no
yeah.
reason to change
Well,
that
the
really.
reasoning there are two reasons that they. I don't think they will, but there's two possible reasons. One is that Novak likes to play at night, and two, uh, the night session Friday with Ben Shelton. I don't think they will, because even this year,
No, they can't. They can't. I don't think they can.
you would
You're
think.
probably gonna speak about the French now, or
Yeah, I am. Yeah, yeah. So even this
yeah.
year, I was wondering at the French Open if, because of the Alcaraz Djokovic being the biggest ticket in town, I thought that they might go with that one second, but ultimately they stuck to the players that played their Tuesday quarterfinal will play first on Friday rather than the Wednesday one. And last year, of course, was the same. I'm sure Alcaraz Sinner was the final quarterfinal last year of the four. And therefore, of course, Alcaraz was on the night match. Yeah, on the Wednesday. Yeah, it was on the Wednesday last year. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, Terry, that it will be Djokovic against Shelton on Friday afternoon Eastern time, mid-evening in Europe. So yeah, 8 o'clock UK time. If it's 3 p.m., it sounds like it'll be 8 o'clock. I think that's
It's also interesting they're not doing anything on Ash before, but I guess if they just held like a doubles only session, then they wouldn't sell any tickets for Ash. So
you mean they wouldn't sell any tickets for the doubles?
yeah, I mean, I just think it's interesting that they're not doing anything on Ash before then, because you could easily fit the men's doubles semis, for example. I mean, why not, right? But they're just on Armstrong. Like it's not like at Wimbledon where you want to limit the amount of matches that are on your center court or court number one, right? It's here it doesn't matter whatsoever.
Oh, to protect the grass, for example, you mean?
Yeah. So it's interesting that like there are only two matches on Arthur Ashe the whole day, but I guess if they just did a doubles only session at the beginning of the day, it would be pretty hard for anyone to buy tickets to that.
Yeah.
If they were cheap enough, who knows?
So the outlook for the next few days, of course, what we all want to know about is Talking Tennis's schedule, because I think US Open will tweak their schedule according to what Talking Tennis wants. Is that the first men's semi-final, at least, misfiring Alcaraz, they're 15-0, will be brought to you on Friday by Jack and Nick, given that it hopefully will be 8 p.m. UK time, which is a rather convenient, or not too inconvenient time, I should
No,
suggest.
it will be at that time.
Cool. Um, and that will probably be Djokovic, Ben Shelton. So that'll be Nick and Jack. I spoke to both of them today, and I asked them about how late they would like to finish. And both of them kind of hinted at, or more than hinted at, strongly suggested a midnight curfew. So that means that first semi-final ideally will get done in 4 sets or less. Of course, 5 sets could also be done in 4 hours too, but you get the idea. So Nick and Jack will bring you the first semi-final, and the other 3 semi-finals still very much up in the air just because it's stupid o'clock in the morning. Tom may get in amongst it. I'll be around, of course. The women's final, I know Nick will be around for that for sure. That tends to be about 4 or 5 o'clock local time, I think. Maybe 4 o'clock local time, 5 o'clock local time that starts.
It will be at 4.
Cool.
Men's as well.
Okay, cool. We're going to have one more first serve tomorrow as well. Did we do last ball drops into the quarterfinals? I can't remember now. I can't remember if we cut off at 4th round. I think we went into the quarterfinals.
I think we did as well, but with the quarters, it starts getting kind of tricky.
It does, but then earlier on in the tournament, I mean, I think there was one with Nick and Miles during Wimbledon, which went over an hour and a half, which is fine, by the way, because they're having a lot of fun, and I don't have any particular cutoff for it. But the point is, of course, you know, 2nd, 3rd round with 100 matches or whatever. It's yeah. There was a 45-minute, 50-minute show that Mario and Jack did today. It's just fine, you know, which is quarterfinals. You know, a pretty, you know, serious look at all 4 matches plus a look ahead. So, yeah, Zverev here, by the way, was applying a bit of pressure on the Alcaraz serve, but didn't work, or not yet anyway. So the first serve will be coming at you at noon Eastern time tomorrow. I will be with Miles as we take a look back on Madison Keys reaching the semi-finals, for example.
If this went in,
yeah, if that had gone in, that would have been Alcaraz +1, but it didn't, and therefore Alcaraz wins the point. I'm going to have one more beer.
Yeah, no way you're gonna get to that. It's a massive +1 forehand from Alcaraz, and then a drop volley that was, well, just it had to finish off the point from that position. But there was a break point here, for 2-love potentially for Zverev. Alcaraz already prepping his Medvedev tactics though on it, serving volleying out wide. Zverev tries to go for a backhand down the line but misses it. So 1-0. Yeah, like if Alcaraz actually wins this in 3 and then potentially beats Medvedev in a pre-even match, then there's not gonna be that like potential tiredness factor by the time we reach the final. which
No.
after seeing the draw, it seemed like it's possible that it could be a difference between Alcaraz and Djokovic.
Yeah. It's unlikely, but it still could be, of course, if he goes like 5 today and then suddenly 5 on
Yeah.
Friday. But I also think that just saving a bit during that first week was not too bad as well. 4 sets down Evans, and straight sets elsewhere, I think, and obviously there was a retirement in the first round. So that all helps a little bit towards the amount in the tank.
And he is 16 years younger than the rival that he's going to face.
Yes.
So that really only could have been that impactful if it was like 5 sets against Zverev Sinner, let's say a long match in the semis, and then
I was kind of hinting at it. Are you up for any of the semis? Any of the 4 semi-finals?
I was actually thinking of if you're aware. And let me think. Tomorrow, I guess. Well, yeah, I've been taking these naps around midnight the past 2 days, but I guess I'm not going to do that tomorrow since Goff Muhova is probably the more interesting semi.
Is it the first
So I
one? Yeah,
guess,
I guess it is. Yeah.
yeah, it is the first one. For the men's semis, yeah, I mean the second one, why not? I'll definitely be watching it, and yeah, the women's semis, why not as well? At night you're probably not gonna get anyone else anyway, right? Who did Vondrousova keys today?
It was certainly something I was very happy to tell you about, but or to
Yeah, because you
talk.
said that's taken care of, and that's why I was
Sounds dodgy, doesn't it?
surprised.
It sounds
Yeah,
dodgy.
no, I was just surprised you had anyone for the night session because I think since the beginning of the US Open, maybe Isabel joined for a moment, but that was really
Yeah,
it
maybe.
during the
But
night
taken
session.
care of is like what happened to Uncle Dave? He's been taken care of. Don't you worry about that. It's
Yeah, that means he's like in a mortuary or something.
yeah,
That
exactly.
sounds.
Yeah. Not quite sure what Novak is not the same means, but I guess it's maybe praise for the soon-to-be world number one and Zoraida. If I'm saying it right, I hope I am. Thank you for tuning in, and make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Yeah, no, it's just because there's a guy who's been doing sports commentaries for a while, and I don't know how I even came across him randomly about a year ago, and I just thought this guy is very good, and he seemed to be able to be across all sports and a really good commentator. And I thought he'll work very well by himself. And of course, I was in the background pulling 1 or 2 strings, but yeah, from start to finish, he was great. So
So
yeah, no, his name's Matthew, but you won't know him. But 1 or 2 people in the
mhm.
one person in the chat, or maybe more, said, him and Damien." No, him and Damien is not happening anytime soon. That's for sure. Damien in his chair, who's gradually getting lower with every hour, almost like a clock ticking past, is not happening with Matthew. Matthew is he's a vibrant guy, let's say, and he's commentating. He's good. It's good, and he got us good keys from as Damien rises to the occasion. Yeah, no, he was great, and we'll definitely have him on again soon. I was very pleased with how it went. Particularly as I just my main anxiety, I guess, was just this is somebody who commentates across all sports. I know he can do this, and I know he's going to bring his character to it, but and I know he's done tennis in the past, but yeah, his knowledge of tennis is more than good enough for just talking for a couple of hours. But he's a vibrant character, Damien. He's maybe he's like a sort of Nick-ish, but maybe Nick +1. Comes up for every now and again.
Fair. Yeah, I did not even check the stream because I think I was asleep for like the whole duration of Wondruszowa Keys, which honestly wasn't that long. An hour and whatever.
I don't want to sound like, because I'm not bigging up the US Open to be the best Grand Slam of all time, blah blah blah. But it's the second night in a row. I'm telling you that the match was close. I mean, it was 4-3 in the second set to Madison. No, maybe 3 or whatever. Anyway, Keys was serving, and she faced 5 break points maybe at the business end of the second set. And of course, and really, it was probably Vondrousova not taking any of those break points. And then so then it goes 4-all, and then immediately she breaks, and that was it. It was one of those sort of ones where Vondrousova was knocking at the door constantly, and you're thinking, okay, she's going to break now, and then she carries that hangover into the next game, and that was that.
Yeah, it's indeed the second night in a row when the same scenario happens. I sleep through the second women's match.
And I tell you how amazing the first match was, despite the scoreline.
Well, how amazing, maybe not, but that was closer than the scoreline suggests. Yeah, especially in the bagel set of Kirsta Amuchova.
Yeah, Alcaraz tries to pull off a sensational volley, and it doesn't work. And as a result, he's going to be facing another breakpoint. Well, on this occasion, it's 2 for his second successive service game. So Zverev is trying to make this interesting, and he's making it interesting right now. Carlos is serving into the net, so it's going to be a second serve for Herr Zverev to look at, as Carlos serves into the forehand. It's a good return, but Carlos deals with it well on the forehand of both players right now. Drop shot Carlos is sensational. I didn't see that coming, and I don't think Sasha did either. And I know he's known for it, but I still didn't see that coming. And he executed it really well. And Sasha Zverev's kind of jog. He's the first 5 or 4 steps were sort of a sprint, and then the next 3 or 4 were just a jog because he realizes it's a lost cause. And it's an unreturnable from Carlos. I mean, that's Novak-esque level of pressure serving from the Spaniard. Breakpoint save now. Alcaraz has not been broken yet today. He saved all of them. He's also got a pretty good record. I think 80% sounds pretty good on saving break points, bearing in mind what's normal on a service point. 67% you win, something like that. Service points, I don't know, just off the top of my head. How many serve points are normally won in a tournament? Or
yeah, sounds more or less right.
Sounds about right. So him being under a bit of pressure as well, though you could argue there's pressure on the person who has the break point. Either way,
I'll
80%.
tell you in a second what his average for the year is on both serve points won and also break well, I guess break points saved.
Which website are you using, by the way? Tennis Abstract or?
Yeah. So yeah, 67% is like exact right.
Good defense there, Carlos. Really good defense.
He's on 66.7% of serve points won this year, so it's pretty much that.
Zverev putting a forehand wide, and we're back at 2-all.
And breakpoint saved percent, he's at 64% for the year. Interestingly, the best player in the top 50 regarding that breakpoint saved is Max Purcell.
What's his percentage?
69.
Okay.
TFOs would also be rounded up to 69, which I'm sure he would find pretty ironic and funny. Well, ironic maybe not, but funny.
So Carlos is at 80% for the tournament, but of course that would have been boosted by his 100% today. And of course, a much smaller sample size, but still.
Yeah, how many did you have to say? Like what, 3 so far, maybe?
Oh, in the match, today.
Five actually. Okay, I did
5
not
today.
realize.
But I'm guessing in the tournament, probably he's faced, I don't know, 25.
Oh, a lot of them.
Yeah, 25 or
maybe even more. Against Kepfer, he saved 2. He saved both of them. Against Harris, he had 9 out of 10.
Oh wow, okay.
So which match brings it down? Against Evans, I suppose, right? Well, 5 out of 7, so it doesn't bring it down all that much. So maybe it's actually Arnaldi, but he had a poor.
Yeah, Alnadi maybe.
No, actually, just 0 out of 1. Okay, and that's really just 80%.
Wait. Yeah,
tournament?
but he has one break point and he loses it, right? So he faces one break point against Arnaldi and Arnaldi takes it.
Yeah. But yeah, just by reading all of these stats, I didn't really get 80% vibes.
All I can tell you is what the screen told me in front of me, which is 80%.
Yeah, I saw it too. I saw it too on the screen.
Yeah.
So that would be 11 out of 12, 16 out of 19, 16 out of 20, and then today 21 out of 25. Yeah, I guess that is 84%. Yeah. Oh, never mind.
40-15 here on the Zverev serve. Did you hear anything about the suggestions that Rafa Nadal is going to play Davis Cup?
No.
Somebody said in the chat yesterday, which of course means very little, but I did check it out, and it's David Ferrer sort of trying to big up the notion that's going to happen. The reason I thought of it is I was just watching Alcaraz.
But I mean the finals, right? Not
yeah, the finals. Yeah.
Not
Sorry,
the one in a week.
Not the one next week. Yeah. The reason I was thinking of it actually is just watching Alcaraz flying around the court like that, and I just wonder if, and I listen, I could be entirely wrong here, but the tennis is moving on, and even in the space of 18 months, maybe it may have moved on from Rafa Nadal in terms of that level of dynamism. I mean, you've got to be on 100%. You can't be anywhere less than 100% to be living with these guys today. You know, even a Yannick Sinner or a Holger Rune.
Do you think that Novak Djokovic is going to be better prepared for Ben Shelton because he has Goran Ivanisevic in his team?
Do Shelton and Ivanisevic have a similar service style or?
Well, I guess big lefty, sort of.
Yeah, big lefty's a start. Yeah, maybe as well. Novak's return may have improved with Goran. I mean, as you suggested the other day, I mean, it's very difficult to know what we can say with a coach with a bit more certainty is if we get an exchange like we had with Coco Gauff and Brad Gilbert the other day when he's saying make it physical and she's like, shut up, and then she does the opposite. We see that in black and white. Of course, that's 1% of a coach's job, if not even less, because that may well even be down to some stat people saying what's going to be more effective. The coach's job, I guess, is mostly on the practice court, and there we have no idea. I mean, Zverev did his best, and it again. I think a lot of players that would have been if not a winner, it would have been a messed up volley. But Carlos is not most players. $15-love. Carlos goes into the backhand of Sasha. Backhand to the backhand right now. We're on the forehand of Carlos and now on the forehand of Sasha. Oh, good one, Sasha. 15-all. I mean, he's a fairly aggressive tennis player, right, Zverev, in that he's quite ballsy, no?
Depends on his state of mind, I guess.
Mm.
You know, sometimes he does struggle with the forehand, especially when he's not feeling confident. He's played some of his best matches though when he is, and you know, we've talked about it a number of times, but out of all these forehands that are like weaknesses for top players, he's is the one that actually has no technical liabilities whatsoever. It's all in the head.
Yeah. Do you have an opinion on how that semi-final against Nadal may have panned out had he not got injured?
Yes, I think he was winning that.
Okay.
If he took the second set tiebreak, I mean.
Okay.
Which you know, we kind of have no idea. What was the score when they finished? Like 3-all? I don't know. No.
Oh no! When he got injured, it was 6-all. I mean, I think
6-all. 6-all.
I think he had just. I think he may even have won that point and forced the tiebreak, or it was like 40-30 on his
No,
serve.
I think I thought it was maybe 3-all in the tiebreak.
No, tiebreak
That's what
hadn't
I was
started.
referring to.
Don't think
Okay, the
tiebreak
tiebreak hadn't started. Okay, so I think
No.
yeah, so he just forced the tiebreak. Okay.
Yeah, he either just forced it or was close to. I think
No. I think it got to a tiebreak. I'm pretty
he
sure.
may have fallen then, having won the point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe.
Or they were mid rally when he fell over. But I'm sure the first point of the tiebreak hadn't even been played.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I was referring to. I was asking about that. So yeah.
So you think if he wins the tiebreak, let's go with that he
Yeah.
wins that tiebreak.
Froman said all this match goes like 6 hours because that's the pace that they were on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I think he wins that probably. If he goes 2 sets to love down, it gets a lot more tricky.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, maybe if it just goes 5 and he loses, then maybe Casper Ruud has a shot in the final.
Maybe.
It definitely felt like a huge blessing for Nadal at the time.
Yeah, maybe.
Just the
It
fact
felt
that
like
he
a
does
blessing
not.
in the semi-final context, but
I don't know, like just the fact that he does not have to spend 6 hours on the court and he just spends 3. That felt very meaningful. I don't know if I think if he spent 6 hours, then the final must have been would have to be pretty close.
Yeah, true. I don't really have much of an opinion at all. I mean, I just think it's really tricky. I think it's really tricky. I do get though. I do get the theory that Rafa could have been in trouble, especially if he'd lost the tiebreak, because I felt he was in trouble through most of the match. Let's not forget, of course, he was 6-2 down in the first set tiebreak.
Yeah.
He then actually goes up an early break. I think 1-love with an early break at the beginning of the second set. But from that moment onwards, Sasha was just breaking him at will. and really should have held serve a few times as well, but didn't. He'd be like
You
40,
should
30.
see the screen now. There's gonna be a scandalous passing shot from Alcaraz.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. And this is now 3-all, 15-all. Okay.
So only one of the 8 quarterfinals so far, 8 singles quarterfinals at least, has included not a deciding, someone losing but winning a set.
Yeah, so hasn't been straight
seven
sets.
Seven of them in straight sets. Well, if Alcaraz finishes off here, obviously.
Yeah.
Which at this point is likely, but still Zverev holding on this one. And Zverev is looking fine physically as well, like after
Yeah,
that
he
at
is.
MTO.
Yeah.
And he, in general, this match has not really felt, I guess, the one against Sinner as much as I thought he would. No, it must be, the conditions must be a bit different as well, because in Zverev against Sinner, he was already struggling in like around set 2 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which serve returns did you say you liked a couple of days ago? I think it was first serve returns. This is actually a second, but it's pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's the second serve backhand return that I was talking about a little while ago about with Alcaraz. Despite it being arguably the best return of all time, the Novak return does have an element of mathematics stroke caution to it, as in it's often down the middle at the feet of the opponent rather than going for a line. Sometimes, yes, but the one that we remember most for me for Novak is he's just going for the feet of the opponent, which gives you an extra target as well to go for, and therefore is not necessarily as aggressive as we might think it is. It's a difficult smash for Zverev to put away 40-30 a game. Terry, they're talking about longer rallies in the Sinner match. Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, that they were more physical, just because here you have Carlos playing so aggressively and finishing points early, right? I just feel like the difference is pretty extreme, though, between how Zverev looked physically against Sinner and how he looks here.
Do you have a Eurosport feed? Is that what you're feeding off, or something else?
No, I'm feeding off. I don't know. I guess it's just the world feed, I would assume.
Reason I ask is just because they've gone for a commercial break right now, and it's snooker. They're just showing a bit of snooker between Selby and a Belgian guy who I've never heard of called Bressel.
Bressa, no, he's actually super popular. He was in the World Championship final.
Was he?
Just now, yeah.
This could even be
He beat Ronnie O'Sullivan, I think, in the quarters, maybe. And then he came up. This was like a ridiculous comeback in the semis against. Well, actually, isn't it the? No, it was because he won the title over Selby, so it's probably the final. But in the semis, he had this incredible comeback, and it was, I have to check, but it was something ridiculous, really. Yeah, 14-5 his opponent led, and Bresel won 17-15, and Bresel is actually the world champion. So he beat O'Sullivan and Selby in that run, and also Mark Williams. So quite huge.
Oh, Mark Williams, he's still playing, is he?
Yeah, I think he's from the same Bearfier as O'Sullivan, or like around that one, right?
Okay.
I think him, O'Sullivan, and John Higgins used to play junior events together, because I think they're all from the same Bearfier, actually. So quite a strong.
I think the year Mark Williams won the world title, which I believe is only once, he beat an English guy called Matthew Stevens in the final. I think that was the final.
Don't remember the final, but that's possible.
And I would
think Mark
guess
Williams might have won more times. I'm not sure.
he might have done, yeah. But I'm guessing now that would be maybe one of the last world championships I watched, and was the final in.
Yeah, he is a 3-time world champion.
Oh, is
2000,
he?
2003, and 2018. Yeah,
So 2000 is probably the one I'm referring to when he beat Matthew Stevens.
indeed. And he actually won all of his titles by 1816, which is interesting.
Oh wow, super close. I remember thinking Stevens was going to win that. Oh, a lovely drop shot there, Carlos. 30 love. Oh, so he's won 3, including one in 2018. 18 years apart, okay. Yeah, Carlos doing this in straights is fine by me. Another drop shot, this time not with the same level of success, though, because Zverev chases it down. 30-15.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind an early, an early finish today either. Definitely not. Especially as it's just not really looking like a comeback attempt would be all that possible, but it would get slightly interesting if Zverev is able to take the set.
Ooh, Carlos backhanding in the net, 30 all. Next point, of course, becomes more interesting. Okay, 30 all now. This is a big point regarding this set. Carlos serving. Backhand return. Forehand Carlos. Forehand Zverev. Oh, that forehand from Zverev suggested he was aware of the significance of the point. Game point now for Carlitos.
I think he just double faults.
Oh, okay. Yes, by quite a wide margin, I think, as well. On the left-hand side there. And actually, both players have double faulted just 3 times each. I say just, I mean, that probably feels a bit lower for... Ooh, Alcaraz comes in for the... Oh! He comes in for the serve volley. But the second volley is really good. I mean, let's just have a look at this again. There's a lot of spin on that one. I mean, Zverev doesn't do much wrong with the passing shot. He can't really go the other side. And maybe that helps Alcaraz in anticipation, but still. I mean, there's plenty of spin on that ball from Alcaraz, the one that just as Zverev is trying to hit the passing shot, just to make it even more difficult. But Zverev deals with it pretty well. He's not aware of him too much. It just popped up in conversation about 20 minutes ago, Nerlan. It was because I just said to Damien, yeah, no worries about the first night match. We've got that covered.
I did
don't
not. Yeah, I did not see any second of that stream. So
How you doing, Nerlan? Anyway, let's see if Nerlan stays. The average amount of time span for Nerlan to stay in the chat these days is pretty brief. He tends to come and go pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone in 5 minutes and we don't see him for a couple of days. He'll probably come along with
well,
an
it
outland.
also could be that in 5 minutes there's not that much for him left here. So
Yeah, true.
if Alcaraz wins the next 2 games, so
I'm just waiting for him to come along with an outlandish comment like Madison Keys is not going to drop a game against Sabalenka.
yeah, things have not been working out that well for Nurlan recently. Pegula, Rublev, his title favorites going out
Swiatek
during the last
well,
2
his
days.
favorite.
Swiatek as well, yeah.
Nerlan,
Buzkova.
I hope you're okay with my unprofessionalism this evening by consuming beer on the stream. I mean, I don't need beer to be unprofessional, of course, but love 15 here on the sort of serve, and that's gone long there, that slice from Carlitos. So we're at 15 all. I mean, Nerlan and Ghosty are equally mysterious. I don't know where Nerlan is based. Is he in the UK? Is he in the Americas? His name.
You can make assumptions based by the name, yeah, but would they be true?
Yeah, his name suggests a bit further east to me. But in the US, you get all sorts of names. I mean, you get them in the UK too, but
yeah. Right now, of course, the world works kind of different than it used to be. So, but most of the time, you're still gonna have some sort of an idea.
I'd love to know what his job is. What does Nerlan do between 9 and 5? Is he working in a bank? Just his very mundane job. That's a nice forehand winner there from Carlos. 15-30.
Nurlan is like able to join the stream at like any time of the day, it seems. So I think he's probably not doing a 9 to 5 position.
True, but Ghosty barely sleeps as well, I think.
Yeah,
I know very little.
Ghosty is there anytime, really.
I mean, it could be, and I'm more or less doing the maths. It could be 6 a.m. his time, or 1 a.m. And yeah, he's still there.
That's true. And it looks like I might have been right with the 5 minutes from here. We might not have a match on our hands anymore.
We've got 2 break points now for Carlos. I don't recall him having a break point in this set. I don't recall him having a break point in this set. I recall a couple him facing, maybe even 3. Juan Carlos Ferrero, they're just tapping the side of his head, as in like, this is a big moment. Keep your focus. Zverev serving here, 15-40, 4 all. And Zverev, it's a great first serve return from Carlos. Carlos there wins the point with a sort of, how would you describe that last shot from Carlos? As a sort of slicey, choppy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a fake dropper, but it's not like fully committing to the fake dropper, I guess. It's like a forehand slice approach.
Yeah. Whatever you call it. Yeah. We call it 5-4, and he will now serve for a place in the semi-finals of the US Open for the 2nd consecutive year.
Yeah, it has not been like the match has been fairly exciting. It's always nice to see like Alcaraz in this free-flowing aggression mode, but it's just not too competitive, which still makes it one of the best US Open quarterfinals this year.
I think of the Indian Wells final actually has been the best example of this. Has there also been a situation with Alcaraz this year that he's not been quite as wild? mean, maybe he's just being better with his accuracy, with his aggression. But the Indian Wells final and the Indian Wells probably title run, but the final in particular was an example of where we didn't see. Maybe he was being a bit more patient in that fight. I mean, I know about the serve volley dynamic. We spoke about that to the death, but is he also showing a bit more intelligence, a bit more maturity, a bit more patience at times as well this year? Or is he just getting better? As simple as that.
Maybe. I don't think, like, has he been particularly showing that at any point?
I remember in that Indian Wells final but maybe it was also because of the tactics and the way that panned out. I just remember thinking there's also some rally stuff going on here. Alcaraz is not pulling the trigger quite as early as perhaps he was the year before. He also pretty much between Buenos Aires, Rio, up until his defeat to Marozsan, was just super, super solid. I know he lost to Sinner in Miami, but probably he was on a run of about 20, 30 matches, losing just once, if you don't include the Cam Norrie final defeat. Whatever, he was probably on about 25-2 and playing just unbelievable tennis, of course, but just maybe a little bit more solid than the year before. But a lot of that is characterized by that Indian Wells final, I will say that, where there seem to be a few less unforced errors. Goes for the drop shot there. Zverev runs it down, but in the end, it's quite an easy passing shot for Carlitos. And he's now 30 love as this match builds to a crescendo. I don't know if a 2 sets to love and a breakup is a crescendo, but it's an end anyway. Nurlan Alcaraz is unreal. Nurlan the banker. Forehand return.
I know a friend.
Go on.
I know a friend of mine bet on like both players to hit like more than 7 aces here or something like that, but he was banking on not on a longer match, I think. So that's not going to work out.
30-15. So Zverev is going to have to break here to prolong this match. I don't know anymore. To be honest with you, I don't. Even if you had access to a stream or otherwise, or we could even provide you, it might not be quick enough because we might just be 60 to 120 seconds away from the end. But aside from that, the only way you're going to access it is by paying for it, I'm afraid. Carlos Alcaraz now has 2 match points. For those of you just tuning in, make sure you hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Okay, Alcaraz to serve. First of 2 in match points. Should he require the second one? Let's find out. He serves to the forehand of Zverev. Zverev goes long. Game, set, match. Carlos Alcaraz doing it in straight sets, as is the pattern here at the US Open this year, with the exception of Tiafoe and Shelton yesterday, which was 4 sets. Carlos Alcaraz wins 6-3, 6-2, 6-4. The exchange at the net from Zverev was kind of like, I don't know what he said exactly, but it was like, yep, job done. And
too good.
Yeah, too good.
Too good is like if you like a very cliche but good way of congratulating of your opponent,
The speech Zverev gave after he beat Alcaraz in Roland Garros 16 months ago was fair, was right. It was not just, sometimes we see these speeches where they just give praise to the opponent, blah blah blah. But he was like, today's my day, but I had to get this one because there's not going to be many more left. Because you're coming past. It's the expression I've used many times about Alcaraz, to a lesser extent Rune and Sinner, that these guys are just coming past, and the gap is not going to narrow, it's going to widen. The Tsitsipas Alcaraz thing, which has been spoken about, of course, quite a bit in the past, it's not going to get better for Steph, I don't think. And yeah, at least Zverev can say it's a 3-3 record, and if they never play each other again, then at least he won't have a negative record against the Spaniard.
Djokovic is shaking right now, says Nurlan.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I mean, let's get that final. Actually, I wouldn't mind either of them losing, I guess. Shelton in the final would be exciting. Medvedev kind of is
I'm okay
due
with.
a slam
I'm good with
final.
both of them losing. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well. Shelton Medvedev, that's a cracker, I think, provided
Yeah.
Ben shows up. But if we get that final, it's going to be glorious too.
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so. Some people as well, when the draw was made, and of course, I think I posted maybe on ATP Weekly or whatever. I decided it was like, are we looking at a Alcaraz Djokovic final? And I may have worded it slightly more strongly, like, can anyone stop this happening? And then there's some people like, oh, that's very disrespectful. No, it's just watch tennis, man. Yeah. This must be of course, I know he's sponsored by Nike, but for some reason, Nike make him wear this rather thick-looking hoodie to walk onto court, and also to do his on-court interview afterwards, because it looks rather too warm to be wearing this thick hoodie in these baking temperatures that New York is enduring right now. I see Patrick McEnroe they've got to take over for today. It's the first time I've seen him do the on-court interviews. Patrick looks like he's enjoying life, let's say, in terms of he's maybe enjoying the New York food, perhaps. Just having a quick look at his general demeanor. Djokovic is shaking because the spinach and moon dust milkshakes he takes every morning have him a mark. Yes, indeed. Ghosty, great to have you on board as always today. Carlos Alcaraz, all the analysis, but maybe Carlos Alcaraz is just too good. That's also fair shout. Carlos Medi, I think we've pretty much done that one. I think we did it for about 15 minutes today. And we'll probably do it for another 15 minutes over the next 48 hours. But to be fair as well, Max, I think it's been done quite a bit over the last 6 months. I think, when did they first play each other? I just remember Indian Wells. It stuck in my head like a...
Wimbledon 2021.
Okay, Medvedev won that one, right?
Yep. Pretty cleanly, but you could already see that Carlos had some grass potential. It was a straight set match. I think maybe a 6-4, 6-1, 6-2, if memory serves right. But it was actually pretty good. It was a match where after which everyone was like, okay, so Alcaraz is going to be good on grass in a few years. And Medvedev said that too. And it was one of these times where, and this is their only meeting besides Indian Wells and Wimbledon. And is it 6-4, 6-1, 6-2? It is, okay. It was also one of these times where Medvedev was like praising his opponent quite a lot despite the lopsided score, and it did not feel, it didn't feel like he was doing that because he's a nice guy. Similarly to when he played Ibing Wu at the U.S. Open last year.
The Wimbledon match this year between the two, from memory, was Medvedev a breakup in the third, or were there breaks exchanged? Maybe Carlos was a
Yeah,
breakup.
exchange DS. Carlos definitely lost some focus there, but that was mostly because he just went into that full-on showboating mode. There was literally nothing that Medvedev could do.
We may well see a similar result on Friday. We may not.
I don't know.
Was this?
I just feel uneasy about writing off Medvedev like this.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I know, like, logically, it could be another 6-3, 6-3, 6-3, but I just don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, for one of the best hardcourt players in probably the last 20 years, he would be in that conversation. He's somebody that I was just saying the other day that I thought would reach 5 slams or more. I don't say that with any conviction anymore.
I
think,
mean, it's probably not happening anymore, but there was a point like this where it seemed like 5 is not even a high target for him.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it was before he'd won his first. It was at the beginning of 2021. I made that optimistic, perhaps, outlook. Now I just think 2 would be great. I really do. I do.
Yeah.
Considering where we were at 9 months ago after Australia this year when he lost to Sebi Korda.
I guess right now he could also theoretically have a shot at the French. He's won Rome. Am I like Serena Williams now when she said Dinara did well to get to number 1? She won Rome and Madrid.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
She starts laughing. No, I mean, he could win the French. It is possible. It is not impossible. So I feel like he has a decent shot at all 4 slams. It's just beating Alcaraz is gonna be hard.
Yeah,
all the other guys he can beat. Realistically, he can beat all the other players. Just Alcaraz is the question.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see a French. Listen, like I say, I just think 2 would be great, just because of how bad the 18 months were for him post, a bit less than 18 months, but 13 months post Aussie Open 2022, where I just thought, I didn't think we'd get that form that we had from Medvedev at the beginning of the year. I didn't think we'd be seeing him in back-to-back Grand Slam semi-finals now, because it was Wimbledon, of course, and now
I remember you laughing at me at some other guy during the Australian Open streams when we were talking about who's gonna make the year-end top 4, and I remember you laughing at us. And
that would have been around the time he slipped out the top 10, probably, as well.
Yeah. I can't remember who I was doing this with. Maybe Jeffro, maybe Nick, maybe Jack. One of these 3 guys, probably. It was definitely someone joining, not from Bonn, but from their home. And I remember you weren't initially in the conversation, but I sort of asked you once you returned, probably from a nap or something. And I definitely remember you laughing hard when I told you Medvedev, and you were like, Medvedev?
I vaguely remember
Really?
it, but I also I do with much more clarity remember my conviction about Medvedev around that time, which was not where he is right now. So
I mean, no one really believed in him in Australia. I'm actually not sure why we had this much belief in him in terms of the year in top 4. I cannot remember it right now. What the reasoning was, but I remember both of us were putting him in. Me and whoever I did this with.
Yeah, fair enough. A point for you guys, because he has excelled in the end, and it was all about not all about, because I say he's been solid in the last 2 slams, but that spell post Australia, I did not see that coming in.
I don't think we got the 4th one right, though. I don't think we got the 4th one right, because I would assume that I said Rune. I don't remember that, though, but I would assume that I said Rune. Yeah, Rune is not going to be top 4.
Who is top 4 world rankings right now, anyways?
World rankings, it's still Rune, I think, but ATP race, it's Sinner by a pretty wide margin. 700 points. Okay. Yeah, 700 points over Rublev. It could be, well, oh no, Zverev is actually is out of course already, because I just wanted to say it could be Zverev if he wins, but no. But yeah, Sinner is by 700 points over Rublev and Tsitsipas more or less, and then Rune is next. But yeah, it would take another fantastic stretch at year end for Rune to get there.
The conversation regarding the race that we had a day or two ago, and probably was 2 days ago, was regarding, I think, Zverev and two other players. It was kind of, we were looking at 2 from 3,
Yeah.
right? Zverev, and who were the other two?
Basically, yeah, Rune, Zverev, and Fritz. Yeah, these are the guys who are on the verge of making the ATP finals right
Okay.
now. Shelton is the only one who can realistically, win. Well, sorry, Shelton is the only one who can still win a slam and like get the automatic qualification
Okay,
with it. But probably that's not happening. So yeah, it looks like it will be Fritz, Zverev, Rune fighting for the last 2 spots,
and there's
unless it's
actually,
like
I
someone like
thought
Ruud, Deminor, yeah.
I thought that the following 24 to 48 hours might help us with that, but it probably hasn't changed
They
anything.
didn't, yeah. In fact, it's even closer now, because Rune is at 3,055, Zverev is at 3,030, and Fritz is at 3,010. So they're
Yeah.
all within 45 points of one another. So everything is open there. Rune, Zverev, Fritz, one of them will probably miss out. One of them will probably get there, unless we see something crazy like, I don't know, an ATP 1000 title from Ruud, Deminor, Paul, Tiafoe. Yeah, one of these guys. But also this year we also have two ATP thousands coming up after US
Oh,
Open.
China as well, yeah.
Yeah, compared to last year. So I think this could maybe mean that maybe this is not as set as we think yet, right? Maybe someone from the back row actually has a good chance of making it.
Okay.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
gonna be Hubert Hurkacz, winning Shanghai and Paris.
Yeah. I mean, where is her catch anywhere? I mean, he wasn't in the conversation the other day. I think Tiafoe was on the fringes of the conversation. So
Well, Hurkacz basically has 1,300 points to Rune, Zverev, or Fritz. So that sounds like a bit much. And Tiafoe is also quite far away. We were thinking of Tiafoe because he was about to reach the US Open semis, it seemed. But he is 800 points away from Rune, Zverev, Fritz. So
yeah,
it's
so
quite a
perhaps
big gap. It needs like a big title, yeah, basically an ATP 1000 final maybe, and let's say 500. I don't know, but yeah, it's very likely that Rune, Zverev, and Fritz will be the one. It will be the ones that will decide the last 2 spots between each other, which sounds fair. Rune has obviously like wasted the entire US Open swing. Otherwise, he would have been around, maybe separated from Fritz and Zverev, and then it will be Zverev, Fritz for the last spot potentially, unless someone has a really big campaign in the last months of the year. Felix Auger-Aliassime, for example.
Right. I think it's time for us to have what would be an early night compared to the last couple of occasions where we were pushed 4 and 5 sets by the players we were watching. And fingers crossed we do get some electric but also dramatic and close semi-finals. We might not, though. So let's see. And anyway, for those of you that did tune in and saw this match and enjoyed our commentary, thank you for stopping by, and we'll speak to you all very, very soon.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.